Okay.
Burn. Warm here today.
All right. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Clerk Boudreaux, could you please call the roll?
Mayor Pro Tem Wilcoxon.
Present.
Mayor Brown.
Present.
Councilmember Fellows is absent. Councilmember Tucson.
Present.
Councilmember Simmons.
Here.
Councilmember McLean.
Here.
Councilmember King.
Present.
We have a quorum.
You.
Move to excuse Councilmember Fellows.
Yeah.
Support.
Been moved and supported. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I entertain a motion for agenda approval.
So moved.
It's been moved by Councilmember Tucson.
Support.
Supported by Councilmember King. Any updates or changes to the agenda? Councilmember Simmons?
Yeah, so I'm just wondering if we could move the discussion to under right after the budget.
Letter F
Letter F, yeah, to come.
to come after B.
Yes.
Everyone
Support it.
All right. So letter F to come after B. All right. Any other updates or, city manager?
If council would be willing to, the social district has already been approved. We have one application for 734 Brewing. If council would consider moving that to the consent.
Here.
Support.
Some support.
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 All right, so we're gonna move letter D to the consent agenda. Councilmember Tucson said, Mayor Pro Tem, I think.
Did you get consent?
Yeah, he has a consent. All right. Okay. All in favor of the agenda as amended, please say aye. Any opposed? All right, and so for the good of the public, what we just did was move letter F under resolutions, motions, and discussions to right after letter B in that section. And then letter D in that section, which is resolution 135, has moved to the consent agenda, which is right after public comment. Okay, we are now at our opportunity for public comment. So welcome. Members of the audience will have 3 minutes to address council. I will start with those who sign up on the list. We will alternate in the number of 10, with 10 in person, then 10 online and so forth for an hour allotment. If we do not get through everyone who would like to speak, then you'll have an opportunity to continue a public comment at the end of the meeting. So when I call your name, please approach the podium as you're able. And if you could state your name and address for the record if you feel so comfortable, but we definitely need your name. First, I have Unique. Good evening.
RB 103 Bell Street. Up here about the encampment on Bell Street in the back. Gonna be a problem now. The people are staying back there and they're coming up to my property and sleeping in my property and getting high, and I've had a couple of incidents there. Let's see what can be done about it. And I'm thinking you really need to get out there and put more cameras and lights. Where I live at, they take the lights out when you get high. And then they just take them, throw them on the ground. So I'm constantly putting in lights and getting those cans for your fireplace and stuff, things for your grill. They steal them, they use them, then they bring them back, put them back in there, and me being silly refills them again, and they take them again. I've had a very bad incident where someone got killed in my house due to some people coming in there. So it's just about time that they start doing something about it. That's about it I can say. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Michelle Simmons. Good evening.
My name is Michelle. I have some pictures for you guys to see about the but I was one of the victims that on Kramer Street, where a homeless person came to my house and stole my bike right off my porch.
Can you speak into the mic too, please?
Sorry. And my concern is, we got a lot of concern regarding this homeless encampment. First of all, endangerment for the community. Second of all, the area that Mayor Brown and Michelle Keene and ourselves, we all met this past Friday with a couple of neighbors to discuss the situation down there, and we all decided that it really is important to remove that encampment because now it's endangering the community, and that encampment is starting to grow really out of control. And so we hear all type of things down there. We hear people trespassing on property, doing all type of crazy mess. And also, the, in the habitat of the animals coming out of the field, the, deers and stuff. I never seen a possum with their babies on their back coming in my yard. I have never saw that before. And we've been in that area for 54 years. So, and I understand that people keep telling me to get a fence, but we never had a fence. And that's not appropriate to tell someone when their life or situation is in danger. It's trying to find a solution not only for the community, but also for the encampment people as well. And I feel that if we come to agreement to figure out how we could get this done, it would be very important for the community and not just for Kramer Street, but also for the city of Ypsilanti. Because it's not a Kramer Street problem, it's the whole entire south side, to be honest. And I feel that we should find a way to address this and also remove that encampment on Kramer Street. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Joy Germa?
Hey, everyone.
Good evening.
I came in respect to the proclamation for the Wear Orange for June 5th through 7th to be Wear Orange. And I was wondering if it was possible for you to give me a date before then so that I could take a picture with you in the proclamation and so that I can put it on my social media sites as well so that the whole city of Ypsilanti is aware of it. A lot of restaurants in Depot Town have put the posters in their windows to make the city aware of it. And so that's my concern, that everyone knows that it's where Orange Weekend and I'm requesting that or I was gonna let you know that I was thinking 2 o'clock for you to announce the winners of the art contest at the event. And I hope you all still come, those who are coming. So I just need a date, like where I could take a picture, something like that. Okay,
Yes, it's ready. It's done.
it is.
Yeah, so we can do it whenever.
How do I get?
I'll get with you.
Please do.
I will. Yeah.
Okay.
It's already complete. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Steve. Uh-oh. Tisdall. Steve T. Carla. Oh, okay. Good evening.
I'll speak.
Okay.
So I am concerned for my neighbors. Some of my neighbors they have had more encounters with the homeless population recently. And I guess I've heard that some of my neighbors have gotten their cars like gone into and taken, some things were taken from them. And I'm concerned that it's only a matter of time that my car will be broken into, possibly. And I do have a bike and possibly it could be stolen too. So I'm only across the street from Miss Simmons. And we're just more concerned because we've had some homeless people, they've just kind of walked across our lawn, and then some have like kind of rode their bikes and kind of circled our place, in the backyard. So we've gotten some cameras, and it's just kind of an unsettling situation. So it would, I would request, say, more streetlights and the homeless encampment to be moved elsewhere with some monitoring and just a more sustainable situation.
Can you state your name for the record, please?
I'm Kara Missick.
Thank you.
Yep.
William Brown. Okay, Coach. Good evening.
My name is William Brown, and I'm the only person that lives on the Kramer Street. So I see all of the activities that go back and forth on the street and behind the gas station. And it's drug use, prostitution. And we have been dealing with this for a couple of years, and we have been very patient with this since last year. And we just at the point that we need action because things around the neighborhood is escalating to our homes and things like that. So we just here to get some resolution so that we can get this problem resolved and whatnot. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Jeremy Haley. Good evening.
Good evening. Jeremy Haley, Ypsilanti Township. A few weeks ago, I went to go pay my DTE bill at the post office here in town because I refused to pay the $2.99 charge. So as I was turning around the corner, there was a little cellophane package with a little pill in it sitting in front of the post office. So I went in there and I waited for the person to come up to the desk. She said, "Can I help you?" I said, "There's a pill out there in a little cellophane baggie." And she looked at me and said, "What do you want me to do about it? I'm in here all alone." So I said, "What do you think? You can call the police or something? Because I don't have my phone on me or in the car to call them." And it took like a whole minute or two conversation with her just to get her to call the police because I was concerned about pill and the baggie sitting from the post office. I'm still concerned that she didn't call the police, because that's what I'm telling you, because I bet you if you called that Friday, no call was placed and that bill was never picked up. Second thing, the Memorial Day parade. I tried to find out where the police were going to be staged to shut down the roads. I couldn't find nothing where they were or at what time they were going to be there. So I couldn't get to the parade because every route to get to Ypsi from that way, from Ypsi Township, was virtually shut off. The officer that stood on the street right next to Dairy Queen, because you had to turn around there, he stood there with his thumbs up in his vest with a really opposing point view and just a really rude voice, said, "Turn around." I was like, "Dude, really? Can do it with a smile or something?" But that's here or there. So the next time for the next debate, I would say put out where they're going to be, at what exactly time they're going to shut the road down, so people can actually get there. Because the 3 routes that I took to get there, I saw people turn around and they continued on their way, so they never came back to the parade. Okay. Other thing, I don't know if you heard the Arbor South. Only 45 seconds left. Arbor South projects got approved for $300 million brownfield TIF. They're going to do the same thing to Water Street. Councilman McLean, you want to see something done with it? Yeah, they're going to put people there, but you'll get no financial benefit. From what I've seen from the Brownfield Authority in this county, they're going to approve it and let you know that the person who runs the Brownfield Authority in this county gets paid by the Brownfield Authority. He somehow makes money and pays himself a salary from that. I'm trying to figure that out. Something's wrong with it, and they're going to screw Ypsilanti for the next 30 years. So if I was on that board to do it, that's one thing I'd stand as firm on, get a firm that's not going to brownfield it. Thank you.
Thank you. Jim Clark. Good evening.
Jim Clark, 116 College Place. I'm speaking today in response to the incident that happened on Thursday, May 21st, outside of the Ypsilanti Library in the parking lot. There were 2 officers, Ypsilanti police officers, that were very aggressively subduing a woman that was half their size and a third of their weight. using excessive force, considering the person and the nature of the situation, and potentially committing an illegal arrest because they were arresting the person over having something in their possession that is not considered illegal according to an amendment to an ordinance in Ypsilanti itself. Um, that's all I want to say about that thing. What I want to say now is that the police department is showing signs of being a failed institution. There's precedent in the country, especially in New Jersey. I think it's Concord, New Jersey, where government officials shut down a police department due to corruption and incompetence, and so forth. I think our police department has demonstrated that on several occasions. Also, the inability to respond to to emergencies, having to rely on outside agencies for help, like the county and the Eastern Police Force. The police department, as small as it is, as understaffed as it is, could easily be shut down and all of the property dispossessed to the sheriff, who could take over. Severe crime policing, and then we already had a program called Care-Based Safety that could handle 90% of the other problems that the police get called for. Most of which involve some kind of mental health escalation or something of that nature. And as far as the homeless people in the community, yeah, the police are horribly failing with that situation as well. There are so many mutual aid groups out there that are trying to solve that problem through building the community up and enriching the community and protecting the people that the police are supposed to be serving. It would be really nice if the people that are complaining about the homeless would join in the effort to help them. They're our neighbors. If you want to see crime go away, get involved in your community, get to know your neighbors, get out and help. But in the meantime, yeah, there's actually a legal procedure for shutting down a police department and bringing another agency in to handle the policing matters. I said that a lot faster than I thought it was gonna. Thanks.
Thank you. Leah Mills Chapman? Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. My name is Leah Mills Chapman. I am a resident of Ypsilanti Township, but I have a small business downtown Ypsilanti. I am standing before you all today, yet again, to address the issues of violence towards Black women that seems to be escalating here in the city of Ypsilanti. The first time I mentioned it, it was after the situation that transpired over at the beer cooler. And now I'm mentioning it again because of the incident that transpired last, 2 weeks ago on the 21st. My concerns, is, am I safe, right? As an individual who is here and bringing business in this particular area as a Black woman. Additionally, are any Black women safe here in Ypsilanti? Simply because I own a business and someone else does not, does that, right, make a difference in between how treatment or maltreatment ensues? That is of great concern for me. When I saw the video and to see the extreme amount of force that was used by the police, the city of Ypsilanti Police Department, on a woman, that was egregious. That was just way beyond and over the top. The very next day we get a message from the city of Ypsilanti, didn't necessarily come from the chief. The chief's name wasn't on it anywhere. That to me is of concern because these are the individuals that are your subordinates. They're underneath your ruling. And you couldn't even say anything direct from you about the fact that these offenses occurred. That is of great concern. There was nothing to indicate what transpired with the officers. Were they put on, some sort of suspension, barring investigation, right? Are they still out here on the beat every day? Do I have to worry about my safety and yet the other Black women here in this area? So for me, I'm asking that some measure of investigation. I know is the city manager is the one that actually the chief reports to. I'm asking that we look into what is going on in this police department, because what I saw that day, tripping a woman, having a knee in her back, having her face pressed down in the dirt, is absolutely unacceptable.
That is the last name that I have signed up on the list. I can take hands from the audience. Good evening.
Deron Witherspoon, property manager of downtown Ypsi. I'm not here today on my own accord, so I'm just going to tell y'all my normal thing. Thank y'all for doing y'all job. I know it's hard. Um, Few things I want to put into the public record that our Water Street committee, we took a trip down there yesterday, and we would like to encourage more people to get involved because it seems like it's a lot of insight that can be involved just by the physical presence there and knowledge. So I want to make sure I'm not addressing nobody directly, but I just know as a person that is involved in the community events, I want to know why the Juneteenth parade was canceled. I don't know exactly why. I just want to know why. I don't know who to talk to about that. Um, I'm not going to touch on that library arrest because Ms. Chapman just articulated it perfectly. I don't feel like people are safe in the community that's dealing with mental health, maybe even substance abuse. I think we need to take more of a holistic approach when we dealing with non-visible, like not weapons or something like that around. I think we need to kind of, you know, but one more second. I got a minute and a half. If anybody is here for the Bell Street or Kramer and Kamek, can I get y'all to stand up one time? See, as the people who be in here every 2 weeks, like me, most of the time, this place to be fairly empty. Right now, the community is speaking loudly to this council, saying that they've been very compassionate about their wildlife being, had wildlife habitat being disturbed, their children and grandchildren's playtime in their residence where they pay tax-paying dollars at being disturbed, their property is being disturbed. So, as a whole, we would like to express, compassion to the homeless people, but we also would like to challenge this council to come up with an innovative solution that we can help all parties that's being, victimized by this circumstance. And my fear personally is, bar location, we can very well be the next human trafficking, child trafficking site with the 275 and 23 being right here, 96 not too far away. I believe it's our civic duty to not only get rid of this encampment there, but to place these people where they can thrive. Because as the gentleman said, there they are our neighbors. Um, so as much as I can look at Miss Simmons and all of them with compassion, one of the residents that came down to the meeting the other day, I felt compassion for her too, because she just needs help. So we got to do our jobs out here if we step in how we step in. I appreciate y'all for helping out at all times.
Thank you. All right. Is there anyone else in the audience? Oh, sure. Yeah.
Sherry Wander, 706 Davis Street. I also wanted to speak to the incident that happened outside of the library a little over a week ago. Yes, Ms. Chapman did an amazing job saying everything that I wanted to say, but I wanted to add, as I sat there, I was thinking the other piece of this, not only was there an overuse of force, I would say abuse, and if you've seen the video, I don't know how you could say otherwise, but there's been zero conversation, zero accountability. After it happened, a group of us reached out to the police chief, to the saying, hey, what's going on? The following day, when we read the press release saying we hope people don't jump to conclusions, thought, okay, let's not jump to conclusions. A small group of us, I think it was 4 or 5 of us, went to the police station. We were told the chief was not available. They couldn't tell us when he would be available to speak with us. We asked if we could speak with any on-duty officer. We were told nobody was available. When I said, wow, like it's concerning to me that there's not a single on-duty officer who can answer to the public about their concerns. When is a better time to come? I was told that was a loaded question. At what point do you say, what is going on? Like, where is there any accountability if you can't even come and talk to people about it? You want, you being the police department is saying, like, hey, give us the benefit of the doubt, which I'm really struggling to do given the violence that I have seen against women, against Black folks, against brown folks, against queer folks. But okay, I'll try to stretch it. I'll try to give you the benefit of the doubt. But when you can't even talk to me to hear my concerns, how am I supposed to give anybody the benefit of the doubt? I know that we have been saying for years that people who are living on the streets have been harassed by the Ypsilanti Police Department. That continues. It has continued by the very officers who were engaged in that abuse. And I don't see it changing without some intervention. So I really beg council to do whatever you can to intervene in that. Thank you so much. Also, just in my last 34 seconds, today is International Sex Workers Day, where sex workers come together to fight back against the violence that has been inflicted on them and the stigma. And so I want to, as I have this moment in the public, shout out all the people who have fought really hard against stigma and who continue to speak up on behalf of people who are doing that work. Thank you.
All right, that was 10 in person. So is there anyone online?
There are people online, but I don't see any hands. Would anyone like to raise their hand? Oh, now I see a hand. Cornelius.
Good evening.
Good evening, Corn Williams, Ypsi Township. Um, yeah, I think, Miss Chapman spoke volumes on the incident at the library, and as council is aware, I did file a formal complaint with the lieutenant at the request of the chief, and I just kind of want to echo Sherry's disappointment because I also have not received kind of any word back. There really hasn't been any outreach on how aftercare was meant to be handled for the victim in that particular incident. And so, that has largely fallen on grassroots organizations and community members, which I also think, just in light of everything that's been shared tonight is really not fair for the victim, or the individuals who are having to carry this burden for the city. I and then I know there is going to be some time to speak on the ordinance amendment at that portion of the agenda. But I really would be remiss not to use some of this time in light of, the community concern that's been voiced tonight to bring up that there have been several conversations had about an interim solution for sheltering in the eastern part of Washtenaw County, specifically because, county and state data supports that 60% of the unhoused population in the entire county, like entire Washtenaw County, is in Ypsi and Ypsi Township. So that's pretty significant, and also why the state has continued to increase funding for harm reduction services, because we largely support the unhoused population here, which as has been mentioned, is growing significantly, and potentially addressing shelter in a more creative way for an interim solution would help kind of satisfy some of the outcry that we've heard from community members tonight. I think, there's a resounding call for less police intervention because we know that it doesn't work and it actually further traumatizes folks, which makes it harder for them to stabilize and achieve any kind of upward mobility. And so I think, the appropriate solution is to offer resources to create that upward mobility for individuals who are struggling due to intersectionality of several different systemic
Thank-
issues.
All right, Corin, I'm sorry, your time is up. Thank you. Is there anyone else online?
Don't see any other hands. Anyone else? Raise your hand, please. That's it.
Okay. All right, we're back to in person. Anyone else in the audience that would like to address council? Good evening.
My name is Larry Simmons, and I want to revisit the conversation about the encampment down there on Kramer Street. And everybody mentioned about all the problems that, continue to escalate. But my main thing too is the mental aspect of it. People having fear of getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, going to work, going about their daily things, and worrying about, okay, you have somebody coming on the porch, taking a bite. Okay, then, so what next? Everything escalates. So we appreciate the council and the mayor. Y'all take seriously the situation down there with the taxpayers that are living down there, paying taxes, voting, to try to come up with some kind of solution. I mean, I have sympathy for some other people down there that in a situation that, that they probably trying to get out of. A lot of people down there maybe have kind of like drug problems, mental problems, and some of them don't want to do nothing, don't want no responsibility, and everything. So all I'm saying at this moment, y'all, we appreciate it. The homeowners, the renters down there, if some kind of immediate solution can come up in order to solve this problem, because not only are you worrying about, thing being taken, but you waking up in the morning, go to work worrying about somebody going to be by your car. Because my sister go to work at 5 o'clock in the morning. So basically, that's all I have to say, and thanks for listening.
Thank you. Good evening.
Thank you, Security Council. I'd like to address the women's prison within Huron Valley and the mold incident that is affecting primarily the Black women, messing with their ears, their nose, their lungs, and their eyes, and not being taken seriously by the people who run the prison themselves, as well as the fact that there have been protests for a while and that there have been people dying and that they more so have the incarcerated people paint over the mold when inspections occur. Another concern I would mention being the database centers that are being formed within around near Ypsilanti, and then ICE relations with ICE going around and it being partially being involved with Romulus. Yeah, that'd be it.
Can you state your name for the record?
Ramses. Yeah, thank you.
Yes. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Cisse Love, and I wasn't going to speak today, but I wanted to throw something in the pot regarding our homeless community. I would like for the very real concerns that residents who are around Kramer have to be taken with this grain of salt. Even though we don't consider this, it's not a moral issue, it's a humanitarian problem. Even our government has identified people with substance use disorders as having a disability. I know we've gotten a lot of rhetoric over the decades
since the crack epidemic, and probably before that, I can speak to my, knowledge, that, there are things, decisions they made, and a lot of them are homeless because of drugs. Often, as someone who used to volunteer at Leaf Harm Reduction, who's maintained relationships with a lot of people here in Ypsilanti who now live in Ann Arbor, where I live. I used to live in Ypsi. A lot of them are runaway people. A lot of them are people who've been incarcerated and can't find jobs and can't get housing. And it's the mental decline. So if we're going to find resolutions, especially removing people from the only home they have, I hope people are willing to take the necessary steps to find out. I want to suggest people go down to Leaf Harm Reduction and volunteer. If you really want to know what's going on in this community, a lot of them gather there because they get their paraphernalia from there to reduce harm of death through overdose. That's serious. They get food. We have services that help them get a shower maybe once a week. We have Fed Up Ministries. There's so many parts of our community that's making sure they life in the way we do when we go home to our air conditioning. There's a huge mental decline there. So no, we're not talking about average stuff. But I would recommend you go to where they are and volunteer, be a part of the community in that way, and you will find solutions. Trust me, because that's why I am still working with them.
Address council.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to kind of turn around. Secondly, I am one of those women who have been harmed by the Ypsilanti Police Department. If you do not know, I was verbally accosted by a sergeant, and there's a pattern of behavior of avoidance and delay. And now I'm dealing with bureaucracy. I submitted my civil complaint on April 11th. It is not yet by the city clerk been forwarded. That is now being addressed by all members who need to know. I've made sure they knew, but I wanted to make sure you know. That's all.
Thank you. You're welcome. All right. Anyone else in the audience who would like to address council? Good evening.
Good evening. First, I would like to touch on the arrest behind the library lot. As has been spoken to at great length, the use of force was inappropriate. The detainment was potentially illegal. And I have suggested to YPAC that you examine forming a use of force working group to examine your use of force policy and see if improvements can be made. It looks like it has not been updated in a few years since Chief DeGusti was here. And I am sure that there is a lot of information and evidence that can be called upon to improve that policy at this point. As to the Bell Kramer encampment, you know that my orientation is primarily to the homeless population in the city. And so when I hear stories like this, as much as I can empathize, in fact, I had a wallet stolen out of my car with every penny in my name to it in the past few weeks. But I would not come here to talk to you about that because I know that that is not the problem. That is a symptom. That is a symptom of social and economic disenfranchisement that goes to such greater levels than this city, but this city is still responsible for addressing within its borders and with its partners in neighboring townships, in the county, in the state, and with the federal government. So it is hard for me to focus on bikes or wallets when I know how often people have everything stolen from them when they live in a tent, how often everything they have to their name, every bit of their human history, every bit of their identity is lost to them regularly. And that is where my heart lies. So these problems are real. And there are a lot of people here tonight to speak to them. But I have been coming to you for 2 years now, telling you how we solve these problems. Harm reduction is a necessity in the city. Shelter is part of harm reduction. Figuring out how to increase our shelter capacity will require innovative solutions, and turning to our harm reduction partners is an important way to address that issue. I also am concerned that Leaf Harm Reduction will not immediately have entitlement to the use under the new zoning, and would hope that they would be grandfathered in and not required to apply for a special use permit and pay the $400 fee. That is an organization that is already doing free labor for the city. I am also concerned that there has been delay on partnering with Leaf to do syringe pickup in locations around the city. That is an issue that is a real risk and needs to be addressed, and again, is a symptom of a larger problem that the city has responsibility for.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to address council? Please come. Good evening.
I'm in full agreement with the people that's complaining about the situation on Bell Street. I'm very familiar with those people. I'm very familiar with the conditions of what's happening there. So it's going to have to be left to council to bring some kind of closure to it so that they may have peace in their homes. I heard Brother Simmons say that some of the people want to do something, some of them don't. And he's absolutely right, because I know for a fact there are some people down in those tents that receives SSI. And what they rather do, they rather sleep on the ground in a tent so they can have all that money so they can buy the drugs that the majority done bought in here for them to use. So that's the way that rolls. Now let's get to the library. All people has to do when it comes down to policemen in a situation like this, all they have to do is comply. That's all you have to do is comply. I saw the video, and I saw no way that the police did anything wrong. They didn't do anything wrong. What we called back in the day, the way that lady was taken down, we called that a lullaby takedown, like lay me down to sleep. I have seen some takedowns. I've done takedowns, and you slam people to the ground. That's not police violence. There was no police violence up there on Bell Street. I'm going to show you all what police violence has been in the city of Ypsilanti, and it has not been with these cops that we got now. You see this? This is what you call police violence. That's police violence. All white boys beating up my black folks. All white boys beating up my black folks. These cops that we got now is not committing these kind of crimes. So you know what? I can show you some where we got white cops with a black man at Perry School. They got his knee in his chest, and this other white cop got the shotgun in his testicles. This is not what our cops are doing now. And I want all of you to take that into consideration, and I will support them forever, because I know what we had and I know what we got. I know what we got. And I will forever support the police chief that we have in the city of Ypsilanti, because if we had white cops walking up and down Washington Street, it would not be called Black Lives Boulevard. It would be called Bloodbath Avenue, because them white cops would beat them half to death. I know that. I've seen that. So y'all take that and put it in your pipes, and I want you to smoke it.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to address council? Yes, please. Good evening. Excuse me. Okay, excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me. We have a speaker at the podium and we want to be respectful. Everyone else had an opportunity to speak, and so we're going to give everyone the same respect. Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening, Michael Bresky, Bell Kramer resident. First of all, I wanted to thank you, Mayor Brown, and Councilwoman King for coming through on Friday and addressing our concerns. Secondly, I want to emphasize Mr. Simmons' comment earlier that we're not necessarily afraid of the unhoused population in general. We are afraid of escalation. As Mayor Brown has witnessed, we've heard reports of residents in that encampment of sexual assault, several instances actually. We've also heard reports from another one of the residents about younger children, I'm thinking about sub 10 years old, who I've also personally seen come through that neighborhood and not for very long, which is a big red flag for human trafficking. So this needs to be very much addressed. And as much as it could be, stolen wallets and stolen bikes, again, we're afraid of escalation. And I fully respect that this council is doing their best to address the situation and use the resources that they have and reach out for more resources where they can. But I agree that an interim solution would be helpful. I'm not expecting a miracle, but thank you for your attention and please continue forward with this matter.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience who would like to address council who has not spoken? Anybody else online?
No, no one online.
Seeing none, then we'll close public comment. Oh, Councilmember Simmons?
Yes, I just want to just take a second, just to respond because this isn't a discussion we have on our agenda tonight. But I do think that so many of these issues are connected. And I actually feel the care, and fear from everyone in the space. And I just want to say that, it's hard because folks are asking for creative solutions, and we know that we've been trying to bring them. And that each year, as we get into different times of year, we're like, what are we doing? How are we supporting? What does this look like? And now we're back at summer again. And that I just want to say clearly that doing nothing doesn't fix, that we can be more intentional. People need support. There needs to be conversation. There needs to be an intentional space and location with resources and support, and where we really are leaning into the partnerships that we have available, including with our own residents, as well as with county, as well as with mutual aid. Like, this is a all hands on deck. And I think that I agree, we heard about this some time ago and we're asking, I was specifically was putting forward situations of where's a place where we can make sure that we have public health resources in the locations as well. And where we can make sure that the community understands what's going on and that they have resources so that everyone can be safe. And we have failed. So I feel that for everyone. So I'm sorry that we're at the place where we are now, because I do feel that there could have been different conversations. Some of the things that folks are asking for it's not that big. And so, yeah, it's just really unfortunate because it winds up feeling like we're pitting populations against each other. And I know that that's not where people are coming from. But once you get to a place where you don't feel like you're listened to, then you kind of run out of options. And so I just want to lay out that care, that I feel, and I hope that we are able to make some movement, because we are liable, period. Whether we act or don't act. And so I would prefer we act. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember King?
Hello, everyone. Thanks to everybody that came out today. As many in the audience have said, myself and Mayor Brown, we went to the encampment on Friday. And I thought a long time about this. I think the last speaker that came up said it pretty clearly. The community is afraid of escalation. When I met with the community, they talked about sexual assault. Sexual assault. They whispered because that's how afraid they were. They talked about children being in the woods. We have seen reports, I know I have, around the community, on social media, on the news, about children being lured into the woods. We heard about a fire. We heard that an encampment was a tent was set on fire by another person with the person in there. We heard about homeowners essentially taking matters into their own hands. That is not something that I want on me. So I think we do need to act. After we met with the community, I received several phone calls. What I am about to say is probably not going to be what everybody wants to hear, but we have to do something. We have sat at this table, we have asked for solutions. The neighbors are afraid. They feel afraid. What can we do? We have to respond because, as the people said, it's our responsibility. It's our land. We have asked for a safe tenting space. I talked to the PATH team. They told me, Mayor Brown and City Manager, something different that we were told even at the last meeting. They told me that no one has reached out to them. I don't know what's true or not. They told me no one has reached out to them and asked them to go down to the encampment and ask the individuals down there to move to another space that's outside of the neighborhood. I know there's supposed to be a meeting tomorrow. I would like to be a part of that meeting so I know what's going on in my ward, so I know how to effectively act. Right now, I am going to ask that to be a part of the meeting tomorrow, and also the PAB team and Washtenaw County Sheriff, I think potentially tomorrow, they're gonna have a solution to try to house the people in that encampment. But right now, I'm gonna ask for someone to support a resolution to be on our next meeting to remove the encampment.
Support.
Councilmember McLean, and then I have a question.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be fairly brief, but the way our agenda typically works, as many of you know, we have public comments, and a lot of times then we go into our normal work and our normal agenda, and so consequently we seem like we're ignoring all the problems that the public has brought forward. And I want to just chime in with my colleagues and say that I hear you at least, and I think others do as well. This is a significant challenge. It happens in different places in the city, but I've only been on council for 3 years, but every year there are issues of encampments and the challenges that go with those, both for those in the proximate area, but also the very real challenges that the people in the encampments face. And we have to try to find a way to address both of those needs. I will simply remind council that we have money coming in from the mental health millage. This council, absent my vote, decided to put it into a lockbox for a particular purpose. But I'll simply remind you that there is the possibility of using a portion of that if we need some financial resources, and I think we do. And so while money doesn't solve everything, but having no money rarely solves anything either. So to the extent that we need some resources, I think we need to look at that and revisit having locked that away. Thank you.
Thank you. I have some questions that maybe you won't be able to be answered in this moment. But a couple things. First, I do want to thank the neighbors for coming out. I was happy to attend the meeting on Friday and hear from you all directly, and also to be able to go with you into the encampment, and even then being able to provide some resources to folks who were there at that time. I mean, it's obvious that there are individuals who are absolutely in need. We know that. And so it was a lot, right? There is fear of escalation. We heard a story about, someone coming through a window and unfortunately losing their lives due to fear and being startled. We've, heard from folks who live there who were afraid to actually name some of the experiences that they're having in the encampments, the abuse, the power and control that I heard about on Friday, and even some folks were pointing out where individuals reside that were creating some of that fear within the members of the unhoused community that were out there. So again, I think these are not competing issues; they are equally important issues, and it's really, really difficult. I think Councilmember Simmons, you said that when it feels like we're pitting two populations against each other, and that is absolutely never what I don't think what I want to do, and I would assume that's not what my colleagues would want to do. But we do have to figure out how we lift and support individuals who are asking for our help. And so, there are things that have been in the works. I mean, there have been starts and stops. I know there have been calls for shelter. There's been much work happening in the community and in partnership with the county to try to locate a place for an East Side shelter. That has been a slow grind, unfortunately. And I wish it could move faster. I wish that there were more things that we could do to help that move more quickly. But alas, alone, we cannot lift that on our own. And so I do think that we need to go back to the drawing board and figure out what needs to happen. I have questions about the PATH team because we've been told numbers of times when this was brought up and even when this was forwarded over to you, city manager, and we reached out to PATH that they have been there. So to hear that they're saying that they have not been contacted, that information is not congruent with what I have heard over the last year in terms of visiting the encampments.
So I have sent PATH to the area and they have gone out there. I've never asked PATH to actually move them.
Well, no, yeah, no.
Yeah. So I've never asked them to do that, but it was when I first heard about I had to go back to my email. I asked that they go out there and I was told that they did, and they didn't respond to the resources that PATH was providing. I'm kind of,
yeah.
But yes, I can find that email.
Yeah, I just wanted to name that because I don't want it to be said that we never tried to engage PATH, because I also heard from multiple county commissioners that also, including our county commissioner, that engaged with PATH about the encampments and stated that PATH had been there more than once and that there were folks who were not interested in support and or were not unable to go to one of the shelters because of previous issues, right? Being trespassed from the shelter locations, et cetera, et cetera. So I just want to be clear that, maybe PATH was not directed to remove anyone because we were not telling anyone to do that. But it is my understanding from not only from the city's perspective, but from the county officials that PATH has been engaged and has tried to engage with folks at the different encampments, not just this one at Bell Kramer. I think, I appreciate everyone's comments. I think, again, there are many differing opinions, but it's all coming from a place of care and concern for different corners of this conversation. But something does have to be done. And so I look forward to, as I've said before, working with my colleagues for us to try to find a solution and moving forward that doesn't alienate any group of individuals within our community, but also can take us steps further in this, because we know that there is work to be done. And I will say there's a lot of work happening around an East Side shelter right now, and hopefully that will come to fruition sooner than later, because there's been a lot going on behind the scenes, including trying to locate a forever home for an East Side shelter, because it's a part of the solution here that we need. Councilmember Fellows.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for folks for coming out and organizing your community to bring more attention to this issue. And I do agree that, in order to actually tackle issues of this magnitude, it will take all of us to work together. One of the things that I've been concerned about for this summer is the atrophy and erosion of our social service ecosystem. There have been concerted efforts by some people that prefer more law enforcement style dealing with social issues to say that social service agencies that provide support to unhoused community members are the problem. But by both the numbers and the scene, as we've seen so far this summer, not having those social service supports in the community and downtown is causing more and more escalation. And so I am hopeful that maybe, both sides can come together to address the issue and that we need to support, the social services agencies that provide resources to housing, to harm reduction supplies, to mental health services. Because without them, what I fear is that we will see more and more conflicts between community members and between local law enforcement and community members, as we've seen in the last month. If we could police ourselves out of this situation, we would have seen results by now. For the first time in many, many years, the Ypsilanti Police Department is fully staffed. So that will be revealing this summer as to whether or not this is the solution to the future we want, because we have a fully staffed police department and we have a lack of the social service supports that we've had in the recent years. And so I am worried that, this summer could be very hard. And I'm hoping that we take these lessons and we move forward by supporting each other's efforts, that we need everyone involved. We can't be fighting those that are trying to help in the ways that they can. So in that spirit, I hope we move forward to support harm reduction. We support shelter. We should support mental health service supports. And it is a matter of will. We should have had a shelter by now. I do think it is a problem that we do not have shelter in Ypsilanti by now. And I am also curious about hearing that there's something happening behind closed doors, because I have not been privy to that. And I have requested many, many times to have meetings to bring this issue to the fore so we actually can get things going. So I would like to be included in those conversations, and I'm disappointed to hear that they may have been happening without us and the local, service support providers' knowledge.
I just want to follow up really quickly on two things. I know many people in the audience are probably wondering why maybe we're not talking about everything that was discussed in public comment. We do have a discussion later on our agenda regarding the situation behind the library. Also, I just want to clarify, maybe I misspoke, but PAF team is saying the opposite. They are saying the people down there, the unhoused community, they are very engaged, and that is not the report. I feel like that's not even what you just said. Yeah, they are saying they are very engaged. It's taking a little bit longer to get them housing. They said they have been actively working down there for about 3 months. And I was speaking to Andrew, what you said at the meeting last time, that we sent them down there and asked them to move to another encampment in the city.
No, I never asked the PATH team to do that. I asked the PATH team to go down and offer services. From discussions with community members, I understand that specific group doesn't get along with the other encampments. So I have never asked any encampment to be moved.
And then I also just want to be clear that my resolution was heard and it was supported, and it will be on the next agenda.
Joe.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you. Anything further from council?
One more thing, Councilmember Fellows. Encampment sweeps do not solve the issue. The issue will remain until we actually go to the root of the situation, which is building housing that is affordable, providing mental health supports, and providing substance use support. So the issue may move to a different part of the city, but it will continue to grow, and these conflicts will continue. So we need to be a little bit more bold than just using law enforcement to crack heads, because that is a temporary non-solution to a systemic issue.
I just want to say it may not stop it. They may grow, but the point is to get it out of the neighborhood so the tax-paying residents are not feeling like we are not hearing what they are saying. Also, what the resolution that I want on the next agenda might force us to move a little quicker. And it might force Washtenaw County, Superior Township, and any of the other municipalities around us to get involved and help.
Thank you. All right.
Or
Okay. I'm going to close the responses and move into our consent agenda. Councilmember Tucson?
Yes.
Yep, for Ms. Simmons.
All right, so the consent agenda, resolution number 2026-128, resolved by the Council of the City of Ypsilanti, the following items be approved. One, resolution number 2026-129, approving the minutes of the regular meeting of May 19th, 2026, and the special meeting of May 20th, 2026 of the Ypsilanti City Council be approved. Resolution number 2, 2026-130, reappointing resident Matt Dunwoody to the Zoning Board of Appeals with a term ending in May 1st, 2029. Third, resolution number 2026-131, designating the following financial institutions as approved depositories for city funds: Bank of Ann Arbor, Key Bank, Huntington Bank, Fifth Third Bank, Michigan Class, MILAF Plus, and Lake Michigan Credit Union. Fourth, resolution number 2026-132, authorizing the city treasurer to levy and assess on the July 2026 tax roll the attached listing of unpaid bills totaling $511,704.55. And fifth, resolution number 2026-135, the request of 734 Brewing Company located at 15 East Cross Street for a social district license being approved, and I so move.
Support.
Been moved by Councilmember Tucson, supported by Councilmember King and Mayor Pro Tem. Please call the roll.
Councilmember McLean.
Yes.
Councilmember King.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilcoxon.
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes.
Councilmember Fellows.
Yes.
Councilmember Tucson. Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Oh, okay. Councilmember Fellows, you have 2026-133.
Yes. Resolved by the Council of the City of Ypsilanti, whereas the City Council directed the Planning Commission to review and provide recommendations regarding the regulation and definition of harm reduction services within the zoning ordinance. And whereas the Planning Commission has reviewed the proposed zoning text amendments and discussed the operational, locational, and compatibility considerations associated with harm reduction services facilities. And whereas the proposed amendments are intended to provide regulatory clarity, establish reasonable operational standards, promote public health and safety, and ensure compatibility with surrounding land uses. And whereas the Planning Commission conducted a public hearing on the proposed zoning text amendments in accordance with the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act, Public Act 110 of 2006 as amended. And whereas following review and deliberation, the Planning Commission recommended approval of the proposed zoning text amendments to the City Council. And therefore be it resolved that the Ypsilanti City Council hereby approves its second and final reading of ordinance number 1465 entitled Harm Reduction Zoning Text Amendment, and I so move.
Support.
Moved by Councilmember Fellows, supported by Mayor Pro Tem Wilcoxon.
Good evening, Council. The updates have been made from our last meeting, and does anyone have any questions?
Councilmember Simmons?
So, it's not, well, it's kind of a question, it's more of a comment and then a needed action. I was reminded of how good it is that these come up twice, because in between the time, community can act. So they recognize that the harm reduction definition conversation we were having around in the buffer conversation may have missed the fact that a harm reduction service facility is limited to in certain zones. And so we see that it's permissible in center, permissible in general corridor, special use in neighborhood corridor, not allowed historic corridor, permissible in health and human services. So what that would mean is that our current state-funded and supported harm reduction service facility would be out of compliance with this amendment, or would become a non-conformity. And in the documents that we had, the motion to recommend to council stated that there weren't significant nonconformities with this change, but I would see this actually as a significant nonconformity. So
so I'm not quite sure kind of how or why exactly that happened, but I'm glad to catch it before we move forward because I'd like to see us add a clause that current harm reduction service facilities would remain allowable until there is some change or in location, basically to grandfather it in, something similar to what we've done with things like the dark sky ordinance, as an example, where we said nonconformities would be okay until, the light broke or whatever those conditions are that we put forward.
Can I ask you a question about your question? So a harm reduction service facility would be allowed in neighborhood corridor or general corridor.
Yes, and so the current location of leaf harm reduction is in neighborhood corridor. It's literally across the street from one of the permissible locations.
But it is still allowed.
I understand that, but it's not allowed by right. And it is what we currently, the conversation about this talked so much about leaf and the location of leaf that then having it be out of conformity feels kind of like, well, what were we kind of doing with all of that without needing to go through a process, not only that would cost maybe $400, maybe more, I'm not sure, plus an extended process to be within conformity. And then that's not even, it's not like you put in the application and then it's like, yes, you got it. Like there's a whole lot of things that go through that. And so to me, that when I see a list that says that there's no significant nonconformity, I wouldn't expect that then the main conformity that we're seeking would actually not conform.
This ordinance amendment allows them to come into conformity. So regardless if they were there, they never applied for their business license or their site plan to be allowed to be there. And so they're going to have to go through that process anyway per our ordinance.
I have a lot of things to say about that whole process. I'm not trying to renegotiate like everything that has happened since they were at the first place and the application process and understanding, which I would say, right, if you already know that you're not going to come, because that's why there was the pursuing of this zoning text amendment, because there was confusion actually within and when our planner was here, talked about that. If we already know that there's confusion, then why keep going through the same process to kind of hit the same wall? So now we're at a place where we're trying to move something forward. So what I'm saying is that given like I understand whatever, going through a process, whatever, but what I'm saying is that I would like to see the same kind of process where we wouldn't make kind of a current issue be out of conformity, that I would like to see us do something similar here.
So if it were a permitted use, they would still have to go through site plan review. And so they still have to apply to have that use be allowable regardless of what type of permitted or special use that it is. That's just a requirement of the zoning ordinance.
So you're saying if it is so say this again, say it so I could, so if it's a permitted use, you're saying that they're going to have to come out $400+ regardless.
Yes.
So what is the difference in the process between if it's a permitted use versus if it's a special use?
There is a special use permit application as well.
So it's something on top of that.
Yes.
So what I'm saying is, so what I would say is whatever is the minimum barrier is what I would see.
So city council can make this a permitted use in the neighborhood corridor if they choose. That is up to you. This was the use that the planning commission decided to make it a special use in neighborhood corridor and a permitted use in the general corridor. So that is an amendment that can be made to the zoning ordinance. It is council's discretion. They are still going to have to also make sure they comply with building code.
Okay, so then I suppose I would start by putting forward a motion to make it a permitted use.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilmember Simmons, supported by Councilmember King. What does that mean?
So a special use just means they have to, there's a special process where the neighborhood gets notified that this use is going in.
And so this motion is to make it a
Permitted
use for any business that may want to.
So that would mean there wouldn't be notice to the neighborhood, but there would still be a planning commission would review the site.
It's a permitted use.
Correct.
Again, Councilmember Simmons, you're asking for this specific to Leaf, correct? Or no?
I mean, my first thing was around that, but what I'm hearing is actually that the whole thing would need to be. My first thing was to say, how can this get grandfathered in within that current space since it's already there? But so now I'm starting at this level because that is what I was just advised is what we would need to do. I wasn't thinking it necessarily had to be that, but but yeah, I figure start at the top then.
I guess that's my question. There's not a process to grandfather something in for a particular business? It would have to be the entire zoning.
It's called it's not grandfathering, it's called legal non-conforming. But it was never conforming.
So it doesn't
So it can't be legally non-conforming.
It was not conforming at all.
Yes.
Interesting.
Point of setting policy based on one particular case, which is a dangerous place to go. The amendment before us, previous to the Councilmember Simmons' amendment, allows for the use. This business has never been registered, and so
I mean, I would say it has been registered.
Of order.
Mayor Pro Tem has the floor.
that it hasn't been registered because there's no application for the site, there's no application for the business itself. So technically, the business doesn't exist as far as our documentation is concerned. So it's not, you can't grandfather something that hasn't even been put through the system. So I don't think we can even entertain that idea of saying that, yeah, they can do that, because then we've totally shortcutted more than one system and we've gone into at least 2 or 3 different things that they wouldn't have to apply for. And I'm not at all willing to do that. I think this is exactly what was requested, and that this special use is congruent with other special uses for cannabis, things like that. No, I would not go that far to make that a permitted use in by right. And I think that shortcuts the neighborhoods and having any say in that situation.
Yeah, Councilmember Fellows and then Councilmember McLean.
Yeah, I'm going to start with the solution first. I mean, if there's not going to be some more support to change this to principal, I think it's fine for it to be special use and just strike the $400 fee. I find it perfectly fine for neighbors to be noticed about businesses going into their neighborhood, no matter what use they're for. But I think with the spirit of lowering the barriers, having another $400 fee on top of another $400 fee, after just having a lengthy conversation about how we need these vital services in order to deal with the social issues that are going on in our community, is one way to move forward. So yes, I would suggest that we move forward with just the special use, but getting rid of the fee for the purposes of leaf harm reduction to go through this process.
Councilmember McLean.
Thank you, Mayor. I've got several more general questions on this overall ordinance, but the question right now is on the amendment, so I'll confine my questions there. So just a final point of clarification. Under the ordinance as it is before us, the neighbors would need to get noticed.
Correct.
Under this amendment, the neighbors would no longer be noticed.
Correct.
I'll oppose the amendment.
Every time I thought I saw your hand again.
Yeah, I just wanted to address the issue of the $400. That's not before us at this time. That is a separate issue. That's not a part of this legislation. It's not part of the amendment that's here. And how that got waived would have to be a separate discussion.
Summer fellows.
That's fine. I'm bringing it up now as, if the folks that offered the amendment want to retract it or not, I think that's up to them, but it's just a solution going forward, that we, move maybe in council business to waive that fee for when they make that, application. I just want to note that, something that's feels like goes unnamed, but it does feel like certain departments have been at war with service providers in the community, and that is why we don't have some of the supports we do, or we did last summer and the summer before, because we've made it harder and we've increased barriers and we've made it hostile to say we're not in partnership with folks that are trying to provide support to folks suffering from mental health and substance use issues and folks that are living primarily in encampments. I am still honestly confused about why certain staff or departments or city officials wouldn't be just opening all doors to service providers that are trying to stabilize the situation and prevent situations like what's going on in Bill Kramer. This is a solution in front of us. We're going to pass the zoning amendment today. And I think in council business, we do our efforts to make it easier for service providers with leave harm reduction to get their special use permit. And that's, I think that's the only way forward that actually moves in the spirit of finding solutions.
Are there further comments on the amendment on the table? Councilmember Simmons?
Yes, I just want to say that I'd seen previous at the last location, and I'm also now seeing a business occupancy and license application from last year for this location. And so that's why I was saying that the idea that there hasn't been paperwork or whatever is not correct, because I can see it right here. So I can understand that there's that there was a need for this to happen in order for us to be able to best understand and be clear about the different services. I recognize that the point about not trying to legislate for just one situation, although I think a lot of what we do kind of winds up being something like that, one neighborhood to another neighborhood. But even with that, this is about a service that is for the totality of not only our community, but even surrounding communities. And so I think of it as being a little, kind of in that line of being something that is important enough for us to just make clear and to recognize and be upfront about the barriers and or what it is that we're asking people to work through, and not kind of the back and forth, the unclarity. Like, I still am confused, to be honest, about some of the different pieces that have happened given the paperwork that I've seen. And so then it just brings more questions. And if it brings questions to me, then I'm sure it brings questions to people in the space and in community. And so that is the reason that I was bringing this forward, because it seems like we're doing a lot of this work here, and whether we are undercutting it or not winds up being a concern that I have. So I will leave it at that.
Is there further discussion on the motion?
I'm just wondering, how can we amend it so that it potentially can pass? I know Councilmember Fellows, because I do think it is appropriate that the neighbors are notified. I think that is important.
I mean, I don't know if there's a way to amend moving it from permitted to, we'll
If you
do
move it
that.
to a permitted use,
Yeah,
then the
won't do
neighbors will
that.
not get notified.
Yeah.
Can I make one clarification? So leaf harm reduction did apply for a business license in this property, which triggered that it was not an allowed use in that district, which is why that permit has been on hold. So it has never been an approved use because the use was not allowed in the zoning ordinance. So Councilmember Simmons is not wrong that they did apply for a business license. I want to say in November. Is that what it says?
Yes.
Okay. After they were already operating there, because we
Were they-
asked them to.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we got the list of uses that they were doing there, that did not comply with the zoning ordinance.
And then were they told that they would need to go through a special use?
They were told that they had to change the zoning before that could be approved.
That they had to change the zoning to allow for harm reduction services, which is where we are now.
Correct.
Okay, so then there is this process, so we're going through it. So then what would you say would be the expectation for how long before they could go through whatever next process to come to a resolution?
So if council passes this tonight, then they could apply for planning approval. Okay. But this ordinance doesn't take effect for 30 days from when you adopt it tonight and it's published. So it's 30 days from when you publish it, I believe. So when the clerk publishes it, sorry. But we will allow them to apply knowing that we're waiting on literally a small procedural hurdle of 30 days. It takes 30 days for the notices anyway. And so if they applied tomorrow, let's say, which it's going to take a little bit of time for them to approve, but typically within 30 to 60 days, we would want them to apply. It would go to the planning commission. It would get approved. We are not enforcing on them while they're going through this process, but there still is the process.
So currently we have an amendment on the floor to move from special use to principal or permitted use.
In the neighborhood zone.
In the neighborhood. Thank you, clerk. No, thank you. So if there's no further discussion on that, I'm gonna call the roll.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilcoxon.
No.
Mayor Brown.
No.
Councilmember Fellows.
Yes.
Councilmember Tucson.
No.
Councilmember Simmons.
Yes.
Councilmember McLean.
No.
Councilmember King.
No.
The amendment fails.
We are back on the original amended ordinance. Councilmember Fellows.
Is there public hearing for this one?
Only for the
Second
first
reading.
reading.
For the first
There's no
reading.
public hearing.
Yeah, I think it would have been nice to kind of hear from the people that are actually doing the kind of frontline work as far as like what has gone all into providing this harm reduction facility and services here. But I just want to share an anecdote, which is that I visited this past week to look to help connect food rescue efforts to leaf harm reduction so that, folks that are receiving services there have, a food pantry that is like fully stocked all the time. And I just really encourage everyone on council and in the public to visit leaf harm reduction and see the community that has formed there, the level of organization that's going on. When you visit Leaf, you are welcomed at a front desk. You're given information about what Leaf is and what they do. You're shown around the facilities, which is the second floor of an old school, and see that there's a pantry, there's a place to hang out, people are playing music. There are harm reduction supply room that is locked. There's other folks working different zones of the area to give information and provide support. And these are impacted community members that experience homelessness, experience criminalization via, marginalized identities and compounding factors. and they are both smiling at leaf harm reduction, and they are employed, so they have work, and they are also expressing purpose because they are helping run a service provider that is like doing things that nobody else, including the city, is willing to do. And I do think more people should go see it with your own eyes so you can see and help destigmatize kind of what's been happening. And I hope that the city, after tonight, continues to repair around this issue so that we can fully utilize the services that are being provided and help people that are in such high need around these issues.
Thank you. Councilmember McLean?
Thank you, Mayor. Your indulgence, I have a few questions for Joe. I've been on record as willing to support harm reduction facilities under certain circumstances. One of the other things I've been on record for is saying that there are geographic places where they are better suited than other places. What was the city staff's recommendation to the Planning Commission with regard to placing harm reduction facilities in center cities, in commercial districts?
I believe our recommendation was in the Health and Human Services District, but the Planning Commission, due to various rationales, which we're here to present their rationale, decided to let it go into Center Neighborhood Corridor and Health and Human Services and General Corridor.
So, Mayor, Joe, the bottom line is, if the harm reduction facility wants to set up shop in the center of Depot Town and this passes, they could do that.
As long as there isn't another one within 1,000 feet.
Okay. And they could also do that without notifying surrounding neighbors.
In the Center District, the substance use disorder treatment facility would require a special use, but as a notification, but harm reduction services would not.
And what have been the in other cities that have allowed these facilities in their center cities, in their business districts?
So staff tries to contain our research to really Michigan, because Michigan laws are definitely different than other cities, and there really isn't any other city that's doing this at this point. And so we didn't make any recommendation based on what other cities are doing out of the state.
I think it's notable that you mentioned that no other cities are doing it. Portland comes to mind as a city that has tried to be incredibly tolerant and incredibly supportive of those who choose to use drugs. And my knowledge from having been there is it's been a disaster, and there's been a pretty significant backlash. But it simply hasn't worked. And there are whole areas of downtown Portland that no one in their right mind would go to. This is not a judgment on the people that are there. They're in difficult straits, and they certainly need help in a lot of different ways. But that said, it's dangerous as hell. And I simply think the idea that you could set up shop and do this in downtown, as long as the boundaries are withheld for schools and so forth. I think it's wrong. I think we should find ways to do it in areas that are more appropriate. So I think I'll leave it there, but I'm not willing to support this and the way it is. I think it's a huge mistake. I think in the long term, we're going to see a reduction in business. Our vacancy rate, as I understand it, is already 17% in the DDA areas, I believe. If I've got that right. And there was in Portland, there was just a massive exodus of jobs in a whole probably 2 by 4 block area. It's not what we need.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Simmons?
So the Degonis Center is in downtown Ann Arbor. In Portland, we're talking about a different situation where they decriminalized all drugs and did so actually without the support of harm reduction. This is where the backlash comes from, because there actually weren't supports to support that legislation. So there weren't harm reduction services, there weren't all the things that actually what we're trying to do is to put into place. So the situation that you're naming is actually in some ways a case for why you have services available and why you actually are intentional so that you're able to match the policies with the actions and the support for the community, as opposed to kind of what is kind of close your eyes and act like there's not a problem. So I actually think that what you're naming is actually a good evidence for why we need to approach this differently. The current location is actually not in a downtown district, even at this point. And also, again, when naming harm reduction and when we're thinking about populations, whether they will seek and use services, location matters. Putting everything on the outskirts, not that Ypsilanti has really outskirts. We're too small for outskirts, but even if we had outskirts, putting something there that makes it difficult to use then becomes in and of itself a barrier. And then we say, oh, well, I guess it didn't work because here it is, no one's using it. Well, it's out of the way. It might not be on public transit. It might be, all these different things, which is why public health guidelines tend to say, where are the people? Let's go there. That is where evidence. So when we're talking about evidence, I just feel like we cannot ignore the evidence that we have. We cannot ignore what has happened in other kinds of crises. One of our public speakers was talking about disability, illness. So why do we try to approach it in a different way here? Why don't we use the expertise that we have available to us and we then try to mirror those things as opposed to trying to come up with our own things? We can actually just go with where the experts already tell us. And so I just wanted to name that as being, you know, I just wanted to give a little bit more information there. Perhaps you weren't aware of what the issues were in Portland and what was missing there, and what people actually were asking for and wanted in support of what was happening in that location. Obviously, Ypsilanti is not Portland as well. And so we actually have a very thriving community, engaged community that is trying to respond with actually little to no resources. And so, what could happen? I always say in these situations, what would happen if we actually put resources where the need is? What would happen? We're constantly talking about what happens when we don't. We constantly say, oh, well, that didn't work, but we literally put zero resources. Instead, we just say, oh, well, they couldn't do it for free and for nothing. So obviously it can't be done.
Yeah, I'd like to address some of the rationale that the Planning Commission had voiced during the discussions. And the reason it's structured the way it is to allow for in neighborhood corridors for neighborhoods to weigh in on these in public hearings for these things. So they left it the way it is so that there would be another opportunity for scrutiny within the neighborhoods, within the general corridor. That's a different situation. But I want to say to Corn, I will help you find the $400, and I will come volunteer. So I look forward to that. I think this goes a long way in establishing legitimacy of this service. You know, we've been working on this for a very long time. A lot of people think it's way overdue. You know, bureaucracy takes its time. It's a life of its own sometimes. But I think this is a good step forward in providing this service, which has been actually called for among a number of downtown businesses. When I met with people from the Ale House and from Bobcat Bonnie just after the pandemic, their concerns were that people were using in the restroom downstairs at the Ale House, and that there were needles everywhere, and that was a real problem, and that was a problem that can be circumvented by some of the services that Leaf supplies. So, but the rationale, but I think this is there's a legitimate business, there's a business that needs to become registered with the city. And that I firmly believe that Leaf needs to go through that process the same way every other business does. They've started that process, it's been put on hold, that needs to move forward. Joe has given us some timelines for that to happen concurrently so that this can be legitimized, for lack of other word, the services that people need. Not willing to bend these things and make exceptions and grandfather and all that kind of stuff. We have fees for a reason. There's review that needs to happen for these businesses and for these applications. And, we've gotten into that conversation about waiving fees for other things, and I don't want to get there. These fees are structured for a reason, and I think they're legitimate. And if Leaf needs help with raising that money, then I'll help them do that.
Member Simmons? I also had wanted to just mention this idea of the business vacancies too, which we also know that those aren't necessarily because of lack of finding tenants. We know that there's many different reasons why some of those spaces are vacant, and it's not, I don't know, simply environmental, I suppose I would say. Thank you. Councilor McLean.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple more questions. Is there any licensure required for these businesses?
Don't believe there is from the state, and so there is none from the city.
And the county and public health. But I believe in some of the documentation I've read, they're described as providing health services, and I think that's a reasonable way to look at them.
I believe Josh has reached out to Laura and the Michigan Health Department. It's not something that is licensed at this time, as far as I'm aware. But if there is licensure that comes up, my wife's a dietitian. There is not licensure yet. It's been talked about for a very long time. And so if there becomes a need for licensure, then we would want to do it.
We might do it if the state did it, but I think
we would just require they have the state license.
Right. If there were such a licensure.
Correct.
Right.
Like, I guess a good example of that would be a licensed care facility, like a licensed group home. If you are going to be a licensed group home in the city, you have to have a license from the state. We require you to provide that license to us.
Do you have any thoughts on whether or not there should be minimum qualifications, checks on?
I am a bureaucrat and a planner. I am not a health professional. I cannot tell you what the rules should be on that, because that is way out of my league. I can tell you what's in the zoning ordinance.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate your answer, and I'd give the same answer if I were standing there. But I do think the lack of licensure is raises a whole nother set of concerns, and it's put these markers down and see how this goes. My sense is that this council is ready to move forward as a group. But I have real concern that we're opening up a Pandora's box. I'm not so concerned about where the current one is. I am concerned that something could open up in a place like Depot Town, or absent the school that's in the downtown proximate area, could open up downtown too.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, I just wanted to, so the distinction between the two definitions that were added to this, that is exactly why, is because one is regulated and licensed with Lara, and one is not. And so to cease the conflation of those two things and define them separately was to get at that. And there was a lot of discussion at the multiple meetings that this was brought up in the Planning Commission, just to distinguish those two things. The state doesn't require a licensure for these facilities at this time. You know, other certifications to go along with the drug counseling required. There are other certifications required for that too.
Thank you, Councilmember Simmons.
So a license is a way for state or federal, whichever body, to say, hey, you are doing certain things and we give you a stamp of approval to do that. And it's done through a state department, right? And I would just posit that being an official contractor with the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services would be not dissimilar from having a license from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. And so I just want to name that. You know, we can say different names, but the permitting is to say from our space and our understanding and resources and understanding of what's going on, we will contract with you to do these services because they're a need to be done. And here's the, you know, the way, and here's what's included in that, and here's the resources we provide in support of that. And then there's a tie to ongoing education, which I know is also the case, and that's happening with different organizations, different folks. I had a chance to attend a Drug Policy Alliance conference that was in Detroit last fall, and had a chance to learn about harm reduction, both here, that's happening in different areas of Michigan, as well as in other parts of the country, because I do believe professional development matters. And so that is how I then have access in learning of information that then can feed into the policy, so that I can come from a place of education and not from just a place of my own fear, because I think that that is important. And so I just want to say that I understand what we're looking at right now is the zoning text amendment. Right now, it feels like we're talking about, you know, whether harm reduction should be able to exist in the places where people are, or whether it's really a sanctioned kind of thing that we should support. But I think I just don't want to leave misinformation on the table without countering some of it, because there's enough for our community to be concerned about and to be afraid of. It should be at least based in those very real things.
Thank you. Okay. Any further questions for Joe before we vote on the zoning text amendment? Please call the roll.
Councilmember King.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilcoxon.
Yes.
Mayor Brown. Councilmember Fellows.
Yes.
Councilmember Tucson. Councilmember Simmons.
Yes.
Councilmember McLean.
No.
The motion carries.
Thank you. Councilmember McLean, you have 125, I'm sorry.
Resolution number 2026-125, amendment of the 2025-2026 budget and adoption of the 2026-27 and 2027-2028 fiscal year budgets. Resolved by the Council of the City of Ypsilanti that ordinance number 1464 entitled an ordinance to amend budget for 2025-26 and adopt budget for FY 26-27 and 27-28 be approved upon second and final reading. Further, that in accordance with section 19 2 of Public Act 621 of 1978, also known as the Uniform Budgeting and Accounting Act, parameters are hereby given to allow transfers between appropriation accounts and within fund totals and within those activities within the control of each department. And I so move.
Support. Moved by Councilmember McLean, supported by Councilmember Simmons. All right, City Manager.
Good evening, Council. After the last meeting, staff was asked to give recommendations on the amounts allocated for youth mini grants, which we came to a conclusion of not more than 10,000. Special event fee waivers, we would recommend amending the ordinance to not necessarily allow for fee waivers. However, I know that there has been discussion amongst council that without a Parks and Rec department, this makes it more accessible to have events in the city. So we recommend between 10,000 and 15,000 for that. Council also requested a COLA adjustment. We mirrored what TPOM has in their current contract, which is 3%. So that would put the mayor at 10,023.13, Mayor Pro Tem 6,724.10, council member 5,796. I did just moments ago send out a PDF with these adjustments. We are at what you see before you also includes a decrease into the police overtime of $30,000, as well as there was an error in salary recorded for the police crossing guards. So that has been fixed. So without adding in the mini grant and the fee waiver, the amount of the shortfall reduction is $1,123,572.
Councilmember McLean.
Thank you, City Manager. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, City Manager. I want to leave time for questions, but just to frame the package that the City Manager just laid out, I'll start by simply making a motion. I'll move the package less the adjustment for pay. So pull that out. Support.
Okay, so it's a move by Councilmember McLean, supported by Councilmember Tucson to move forward the proposed package minus the compensation. Okay, discussion. Councilmember King.
First, what would that be? Because the recommended amount is 10,000 to 15,000. So
no, that would be for the fee waivers. So right now it's a 3%. So it would just be removed. Oh, I apologize. So it'd be 10,000 or 15,000. Thank you, Councilmember King.
I thought the recommendation was to eliminate them and we decide if we put an amount in.
That would be our recommendation, but since you requested an amount, it'd be 10,000 to 15. So that would be need to build.
So just explain what was moved then, so I can understand.
So to clarify that, if you want me to, it was the full amount, and then go with the permissive level. But I'm open to changing this part. But I would say 15,000, but leave it open to.
So clarify everything that's in the motion, I guess.
Everything that the City Manager just mentioned, except for the pay increase.
So 15,000 for special events and not 10,000 for youth mini grants.
That's right.
I would just continue to say I definitely would not support that. I don't support that. I think we are worthy of getting a 3% pay raise. We have asked for a few years. Our Reagan has even put it in our budget at a time before, and we keep denying ourselves a raise, and it's very minimal. So I would not support that.
Councilmember Simmons?
I think it's interesting if I'm reading this correctly, I just want to be clear. For the 3% pay raise, it's under $1,300. Is that correct? Total?
$1,244.28.
Yes. So I just want to say this, and it's like kind of hard to be fighting for like pennies, but just to say, I just want to name it as that since the time that I've been paying attention to council. And as I was looking back, I was going back to look at past councils. I was trying to look at the makeup of the past councils. And what's interesting to me, when people say that we are the most diverse council that there has been, it's in many different ways. Not only is it by race, but I think that that's important. But also people who having a person with a young child, that's not typical. A lot of the people who are serving are older, whiter, more retired, more well off. And so it matters in terms of who considers even trying to be an elected official. And it's hard out here. And here we are in a situation where council members are filling in, doing work, filling in for gaps, finding mistakes of staff who are well paid, and community members stepping up, stepping in, and we are doing real work to make those connections. And here we are saying, let's pass everything besides this $1,300. I find it to not only be anti-Black, I find it to be anti-woman, because who gets to serve? What are we communicating to our community when we say, y'all ain't even worth $1,300? Does our work not matter? I say it does, because I know what I put in. I know what I add. In the last meeting, I want to say this because I see my council member raising his hand. I want to say that I wanted to talk to you so badly at this event, the last time I saw you at the Water Street meeting, because I wanted to say this to you directly. Because when I brought up that we needed to vote on this and that I wanted it to come forward, your response was so hurtful to me, because you said, I'm tired of talking about this. I don't even want to. And here we are. We're upset because someone said that we weren't even trying to finish our business. And we had a whole diatribe. And I felt that was personal. I felt it was a no, because I brought it up and that response felt personal. And the fact that we are sitting here on this budget as if our measly money is going to set the city back, as if when we stay up, when we are answering calls, returning emails, doing town halls, trying to open up so people can understand what's happening in our local government, I do that work. And I miss bedtimes, and I miss dinner times, and I have my child say that I work too much because I'm serving this community. And then to be up here and being told $1,300 is just too much. It's just too much. Sacrifice more. And then we would wonder what would happen when this council's face changes again, but not for the better. It goes backwards because some people say that they are not welcome here. And I think that that's a problem for democracy, because it's not about me. It's not about me. I will continue to be here because I've been here. I've been doing this work since I was here. I've been here coming to council since 2017 without pay and with a lot of negativity, let's say, from community. I have to sit in toxic space, and I just want to say for everybody who might think about running for this office, I want you to know that I think that your work matters. And I want you to know, and I see you, and it's not only one type of person who gets to serve. We are the most representative of the community that we have ever been, and I want it to stay that way.
Thank you. Councilmember Tucson?
So the book that I believe in says that when an individual sets out to build, he must first count the cost, right? So that means that if you are going to involve yourself in anything, whether it be council, extracurricular activities, whatever it may be, you must first count what it's going to cost you. And when we involve ourselves in these things while outlining the things that it's going to cost us, we then involve ourselves in it, we make sacrifices. It was my choice to run for council. It was everybody's choice up here to run for a seat. There was no gun held to anybody's head to do any of these things. And it's a noble sacrifice, noble choice. But the things that we do up here are our choice. We don't have to be up here. Every single one of us can vacate and resign from our seats, right? I'm not telling anybody to do that. That is an option. That is a choice that we can make. This is a sacrifice. It's not anybody's job. I work at minimum 60 hours a week to then take care of my bills, supplement my lifestyle, and do the many of the things that I would like to do. I don't depend on the city to pay me all the things that I need to do. I work to do those things. And I sacrifice my time my usual free time to do these things. Brother Witherspoon was here just an hour or so ago. It's been many times where I bumped into that brother, and I've, on my own free time, linked up with him and the kids that are in his program, and we just drove around and hung out and did all those things. Why? Because it's a sacrifice I was willing and wanted to make. Council is a sacrifice that I am willing and want to make. All the other things, I'll figure it out. I don't have some extremely affluent family that's living in Beverly Hills somewhere with $200 billion to supplement my lifestyle. I don't have a trust fund running behind me that's just supplementing every piece of my lifestyle. No. Last week I had to make sacrifices for the things I needed to do because, I don't know, I have to make sacrifices. Life is about sacrifices. We are all adults. We have to make sacrifices. Life is about that. I'm a person who lives by himself. I don't have any children. That's true. I don't have any dependents. And I want you to understand that me saying I was tired of having this conversation last meeting was absolutely not directed towards you. And I'm sorry that you feel as if it was, and it was not. My tiredness, my fatigue in having this conversation is because every time this conversation happens, we are talking about budget shortfalls in the city. We're having this conversation while, city facilities are in disarray. The police department is leaking in the basement. There's a bunch of different things. Have we all been in this building? The basement of this building looks crazy. And yes, it may be under $1,300, but I don't care. I don't care. Not $1 needs to go extra to me. This is a sacrifice I was willing to make. Years ago, I let everybody know that when I ran for council, I didn't even think we got paid. I was willing to make that sacrifice. I was a young man. I'm almost 30 now, but I was a young man, right? I'm still a young man, and I'm willing to make these sacrifices. I have free time and friends that I'm missing out on. I could be spending time with my nieces and nephews and my godson. But guess what? I come here and I engage with people and I do the work. I go to work at night. I miss out on sleep. I wake up, go home, sleep for 2 hours to go to my other job, to then get off that other job, sleep for 30 minutes to go back to my night job. Sacrifice. And I come to these meetings every Tuesday that we have them on time and before time. On time to me is well before time. Sacrifice. It's not directed towards you. It's not me taking a shot at you at all. I'm not taking a shot at anybody. This is a choice that we all made. That's it.
Um, just want to say I've really appreciated Councilmember Simmons' comments tonight, all throughout the meeting, actually. And I found your comments about this particular subject to be quite healing. It needs to be said. It's not said enough. I think, what I'm hearing from Councilmember Tucson is it is just an ideological divide going on. I don't think we're going to see things eye to eye on this issue. So I am not going to go into that and belabor the point over something that is less than $1,300 for the total of council. So it's not per person, but that's everything. But I do want to highlight that, it isn't even for who's doing work in the city and on council. And I think that folks that are advocating for less from your elected representatives are advocating for more from staff. So they want to see a reliance of all the decision making on staff. And so if you don't agree with that and you want your council members, your elected members to be doing as much as they can and being as involved as they can, I think you should take that to the ballot box. And some of us on here have done discovery and analysis of our budget and found cost savings of over $300,000. And that's not getting mentioned by staff, but it is something that we found as an error. It's because we put time in. Okay, so we're saving the city money. I do think with how much we have saved the city money, it makes sense to discuss $1,300 COLA raise as a reasonable thing, but it doesn't seem like that is going to pass tonight because this happened last year and probably those council members will vote the same, but they are voting for less elected stakes, less representational stakes, and they're voting down us doing our jobs to the best of our ability, and they're voting for staff to kind of run your city for you. So just keep that in mind when you go to the ballot box. Councilmember King.
I just want to say, wow, it is a choice. I enjoy doing this job. I'm from the city of Ypsilanti, born and raised. I have spent my entire life here. I didn't really know what the pay was when I started either. While it's a choice, I want to say what Councilmember Simmons said. Does it matter who represents y'all? Who do y'all want to see up here? Because the pennies that we are asking for, I'm glad Councilmember Fellows just brought it up. It's for the entirety of us. It's not $1,300 per person. Divide that by 7. It saddened me to know somebody wanted to run to office, but they said, Councilmember King, I can't do what you do. You spend too much time doing council stuff. I see your kids want to see you more, your family, your friends want to see you more, but I'm out here doing council stuff because I want to, because I enjoy it, and it helps me learn more about the city that I represent. I do not want people to say, no, I don't want to be a council member because of the pay. This is not, it's not making us rich. But we are asking for a $1,300 raise divided by 7, and I think it should pass. So I want council to really consider what everybody's status is, not just our own individual status. We should not have to beg for a raise. We take the heat from everybody in this city. If staff makes a bad decision, we take the heat. If the city manager make a bad decision, we take the heat. If the police, the fire, and I'm not trying to throw shots, we take the heat. They come here and yell at us. $1,300, I'm sorry, I have to get excited tonight because this is sad to say, let's give everybody else something, but give ourselves nothing.
I'd like to also bring to the forefront, I'm seeing, I don't want to call it a confusion, but a misuse of words. What we do at this dais as elected officials is not a job. It's not a job. It's not a job. It is not a job. It may feel as if a job, it's not a job, it's a responsibility, it is a choice, it is a dedication, it is a sacrifice, right? Once again, I'm not from an affluent family, right? My mom, my pop, my sister, my brothers, and cousins and the like are not rich people. They're not Jay-Z, they're not Beyonce. They don't have millions and billions of dollars. While some of my family members may love those people, they are not them. We don't have the pockets that they do. Everything that I have, from when I first got elected, I bought my car with my own money. The home that I live in, I pay for it. I pay for all my utilities with my own money. So it's not to say that, oh, I'm in this because I can just skate on life. It's not. I'm in this to make the sacrifice for the city that I have been in for my entire life, 29 years. My father has been in for the majority of his life. He's about to be 80 tomorrow. This is not something that is a job. A job is me at GM. A job is me at Home Sweet Home on Washington Street. I work in a business that is in the city of Ypsilanti. I don't look to the residents of our city, and this is another point. I don't look to the residents of our city to supplement my life. I don't care if it's $1,300 separated by 7 people. I don't care. Every time, and I feel like this is my thing. Every time we have this conversation, for the 3 iterations of which we had this conversation, I believe that it is a utter slaps and spit in the face of every resident and every staff member who is living and working in the city because of the facilities that we have, because of the services that we could have and we don't have, right? We have numerous people coming to these meetings every so often, my father being one of them, talking about street sweeping. Often. We don't have that often, right? We have forestry departments that were being talked about being taken away from, funding being taken away from. There are community members that want forestry. Every time we have this conversation, in my opinion, y'all can demonize me for saying this if you want. Every time we have this conversation with the other things in concert with it, budget shortfalls, facilities in disrepair, things of that nature, I feel as if it's a slap and spit in the face of each and every resident and each and every staff member working and living in this city. And I'm standing on that. I'm once again, I'm going to say it. I'm tired of having this conversation in concert with all those other things as well. That's it.
Councilmember Seth.
You and men to bring it.
So, it's interesting, to think about young people. My colleague is saying his background, and I think it's important to name that the way was paved by a family member. He has a family member that comes almost every meeting, usually to deride me, but that aside. And we, in thinking about other young people, do they feel that? What I know from young people is that they even have a hard time volunteering, just volunteering, even in high school, because of the responsibilities that they hold. And so to say, like, could we even talk to Mr. Weatherspoon and the young people he brings here? Would any of them say, yes, I want to put my foot forward because I want to be in service to this place that I love? Obviously, we're all here because we want to be in service to the place that we love. But in some places, the council actually gets paid full time. In some places, elected officials actually get health care. So to say that this, we're not trying to be outside of the bounds of what is acceptable, in some places where the budget allows, people actually get paid more. And in some places, what I've learned in the state, some people get paid less. So, it's about the size, the expectation. We're talking about very serious issues. And so, talk about a job, I call parenting a job, y'all. I love my kid. I don't get paid for it. Usually I get yelled at. And it's the best job I have. but it takes work because I'm intentional. I show up fully, and I am willing to put out and sacrifice for it the way I do for all the jobs I have. And I count council among that. I enjoy this too. Why I couldn't be here if I didn't. Why would I do so? Um, but I just want to name the other thing that's difficult is because of how this was put forward, which I see as I feel is maybe purposeful, because it feels like either those of us who have been asking for the past few years for really minimum, like minimal, either we have to vote against what we've been asking for and what's really small, or we have to vote no. And and then what does that look like? Does that look like we're not responsible because we know we have to pass a budget? But I know it's my choice. It's my choice. Just like it's my choice when I reach out to people, it's my choice when I actually go and do above and beyond what is showing up in this room. It's my choice to actually ask people for their opinion. Yeah. Yeah. I understand that. I understand that I could just do the bare minimum. I understand I could do that. That's not in my style. It's not in my way. That's not why people ask me to run, because I'm here because people asked me, because people said that they needed representation. I ran and I'm here because people said that they needed a strong voice and that they said that they would run themselves, but they didn't feel like they could hold what we hold. And so one of my goals is to say that I want more people to come and I want more people to follow. I want more people to see themselves up here. I don't want them to be afraid um, of being in service and leadership. I want them to see that it is worth it and that their voice can matter too. And so, yes, it's my choice, but I'm just naming the political side of things. I'm naming it because this is not about the budget. This $1,300, if this $1,300 was going to fix the elevator, I would do it in a second because I know that there's people who need that elevator. If I knew that this $1,300 was going to do it, it's not. We can't even get half a road paved. That's a postage stamp. When we're talking about our city budget, we're talking about a big old budget. We just found with community $300,000. So anyhow, I know I'm just going on too long on this, but this feels like it's just really interesting what's happening in the narrative. And I feel like, again, I just want to name it because what we do matters. How we act matters for the next generation, not for the next of us. I'm talking about the next generation. If we don't start raising it, then by the time the next generation comes back, how far behind are they going to be? How far behind are they going to be? There's going to be no catching up. And that's what we see in systems all the time. I've been working in life. You want to give your life story? I'm always coming from behind. Always coming from behind. Push, push, push. What if in the future, I don't want the young people to have to push the way I had to push? What if I don't want to have to leave things? That's why I said we have to deal with problems here now. I'm not trying to leave things for tomorrow, for the next. I'm not trying to kick cans down the road, constantly kicking cans down the road. No, we need to act. We need to do something.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Point of clarification. So the motion is to accept, there's a memorandum from city manager that gives amounts of $10,000 to $15,000 for special fee waivers and for $10,000 for mini grants, and then the 3% for council pay increase. And so is the motion that the numbers be 15,000, 10,000, and nothing from 3%.
Yes. And then there is the 1% vacancy credit, the adjustment to the police crossing guards, and then the decrease in police overtime. Would that be included in this as well?
Yeah, all of that. It was
Everything that was in the
full
PDF.
package.
In the pic, yeah.
Yep.
So my colleagues, I've been sitting through this argument for quite some time. We had an HR professional on council at one time who was also a JD. And her opinion was that we devalue our council members by not paying them, right? And that was her position. And at that time, we all voted not to give ourselves a raise. So she stated very clearly that, and I look at this and I was like, to the point that this city will never be able to pay city council members for the hours that they put in at a market salary. I think about what I make in my day job, and I think about what I make here, and it is it's not going to pay people that don't have another job to be able to do this. We've had people who were retired and they really relied on this money for part of their income on a fixed income. And so both of these positions are valid positions. We're not here to make ourselves rich, which I've been dealing with that one for 8 years. People think that I get all sorts of money for doing this. It's not true. But I do think that the idea of compensation for our positions is always going to be a problem. This has been a problem all the time that I've been here, and I've voted against my own raise every single time. And at this point, 3% and $1,300 is not something that I want to get hung up on. If this is going to be the case, I can find other ways to get that $1,300. For instance, taking that 15,000 down to 10,000, those fee waivers. I'm not even in favor of having the fee waivers. I want to get rid of that. That has been the biggest headache for this council and previous councils in terms of those fee waivers. And the idea that we would go through and we would adjust those fees so that they are justifiable. And we do that, and that is the point. It's always supposed to be justifiable. So if this is about $1,300 versus $15,000, I would get rid of the special offense fee waivers. And as I said about corn, if there's an obstacle here, we've got staff that have assessed the time required to process permits, and those fees are structured for that time of our staff. Then we don't need to be waiving fees. And if there's a problem with getting money for these organizations to have these events, then that's a fundraising issue. And if that's a barrier, then we need to help them fundraise to do that. But that is not saying that we're shortcutting our staff time and discounting staff time to accommodate that. So I would like to get rid of the special events fee waiver altogether. And I have no problem with a $1,300 raise for the rest of us. I voted against that for 7 years, and it's been an issue for a lot of people. People come to this position from different economic standings, and it's not even $1,300. That $400 or whatever per person can be a difference. But and I appreciate that we're working with the deficit. You know what? We've always had a deficit since I've been here. This is not something new that we are. We approach it differently each time we come at it, but we never have enough money to do what we need to do. So I would not vote for that amendment because I would like to see the events fee waivers go away and get a pay increase. Only 3%. So
Councilmember McLean?
Simply say I'm happy to support a friendly amendment related to the fee waivers if you wanted to offer that.
yeah, I would offer that. To get rid of the fee waivers from this amended budget.
Person who supported your
Councilmember Tucson.
Yes. Okay. Councilmember Simmons?
Well, I just want to say I agree about the need, and I know we've been talking a lot about the need to adjust our fee waiver situation and the fees that we put forward. I think I wonder about when that will happen and how that will be communicated to our different partners. That in the interim, before there's these changes.
About us not providing fee waivers, potentially?
Yes.
Councilmember Fellows?
I just want to note that striking the fee waivers doesn't change the ordinance process, which is still allows orgs and event throwers to request a fee waiver. So I think it's a little bit out of order as far as what we would do. I think keeping 10 grand fee waiver until we get a updated events park rental schedule from EPW makes more sense because I heard that could come in July. And so in July we can review it, and if we agree on that fee schedule and remove the fee waiver process from either the ordinance or just that would make more sense in steps, I believe, because again, I said at some other meeting, but because we don't have the Parks and Recs department, and our fee schedule is very, very high for renting parks. I think it provides, I think the community wouldn't like that because the community here really likes the events that get thrown in our various parks. And if, we have another situation like Heritage Festival that I hear about all the time, that would be no good. So I think supporting community orgs the way we can until we can get more equitable fee schedule makes the most sense.
Further discussion on the amendment, which now strikes the fee waivers from the table.
So just to clarify, the only thing that's on the table is the $10,000 youth mini grant.
No, and then
And
the other items that are on the spreadsheet that the city manager sent out. Can you say them again?
So yes, it would be the mini grants, the 1% vacancy credit, the police crossing guard adjustments, and police overtime.
Or amendment. Right.
So can we add the
So we could vote on this package and then bring other things separately. It doesn't all have to happen in this one.
Okay, well, let's call the question.
I would love to. I would love to. Clerk Joe, can you please call the roll on the amendment?
Councilmember Fellows.
Wait, is this for calling the question?
I think
It has to be a vote on calling the question.
Okay. We're voting on calling the question.
there was support on calling the question.
The motion was made to call the question.
I thought there had to be support for that.
Bring y'all know. Call the question. Let's go.
Like we ready to vote. I don't know. Call it, please.
Calling the question. Sorry, Councilmember Fellows,
Yes.
Councilmember Simmons,
Yes.
Councilmember McLean,
Yes.
Councilmember King,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilcoxen,
No.
Mayor Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Tucson.
Yes.
Motion carries. Now we will vote on the amendment. Councilmember Fellows,
This is how it got.
No.
Mayor Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Simmons,
Pass.
Councilmember McLean,
Yes.
Councilmember King,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilcoxen,
Yes.
Councilmember Tucson,
Yes.
Councilmember Simmons.
Yes.
The amendment passes.
Okay, now we're on the amended budget. Councilmember Simmons.
I would like to make an amendment to add a 3% COLA raise for council.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilmember Simmons, supported by Councilmember King. Discussion? Councilmember McLean?
Clarification, does that mean we've left the mayor out?
No. Oh, no, that
I'm trying to stick up for you.
I'm a part of the city council. I'm not separate. Okay. Any further discussion? Councilmember Fellows.
Just for the good of the public, this means that on an annual basis, on average, each council member will get about $170 more. So that is what's being voted on.
Councilmember
Call
King.
the question. I'm just saying, I'm ready.
We're gonna vote twice to call to
But no, I do need clarification. Do we vote on calling the
You
question?
have to vote to call the question, then you vote. So you're voting twice.
Okay, well, I can remove it if we're about to vote.
Yeah.
Okay, let's.
All right. If there's nothing further, please call the roll.
For adding 3% COLA, Mayor Pro Tem Wilcoxen, Mayor Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Fellows,
Yes.
Councilmember Tucson,
No.
Councilmember Simmons,
Yes.
Councilmember McLean,
No.
Councilmember King.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Back on the amended budget. Councilmember McLean.
Move to amend. I would like to give all council members who receive a raise to signify to the clerk that they do not want to accept the raise and that they have that choice. Also move.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilmember McLean, supported by Councilmember Tucson. Is there, can you clarify your motion for folks?
Just, it is my understanding right now that there is not the ability of one to say, I don't want the raise. That's perhaps a question for the city attorney, or the city manager, but that's my understanding. And so I want to clarify that in fact, we do have that authority. If a raise is given, that we can say we don't want to take that raise individually.
I mean, in theory, it's essentially a donation back to the community.
That has tax implications.
Yeah.
It does. And I'm not going to give tax advice to any member of council. It's not my role.
No, it's not. Thank you. Were you done? Councilmember Simmons?
I guess I would wonder, what would, like, if someone didn't want to get paid at all, could they say that? Could they say, I just want to do this for free? I mean, let's go all the way, honestly. Is that possible or is that not possible? Because I kind of feel like, I mean, yeah. Or is it by choice, as we were talking about, where people can say, I don't want this, and so here's how I will enact it in these other ways.
I think that that's possible. Yeah.
That's what I'm just, I mean, my thinking makes it seem like that wouldn't be, but I think that there's always a choice. There's plenty of, you can put it toward any of the issues. You could put it toward relocating folks from Bell Kramer. I mean, I think people can do what they want with that.
So the vote budgeted the funds. The funds are there, so they would be given to council for you increase the salary by 3%. So you would get that. You can give it to somebody else if you want, but
What you want with it? Oh. Mayor Pro Tem?
I was just gonna voice this, can't give me tax advice, but it would be nice to have a mechanism so that the city keeps the money rather than giving it to the state and the federal government. I already donate a large portion of my city pay, so that I get that. I'm all about that. That's how Corn's going to get some money, right? That happens.
I mean, to answer one question, at least under federal law, you can reject your entire salary because the Federal Fair Labor Standards Act generally does not apply to you. But as I sit here,
Can you speak a little louder, please?
oh, I'm sorry. As I sit here, I can't speak to what Michigan law says on that issue because even though my hip is pretty large, I don't want it to speak under those circumstances. But at least I know under federal law that local elected official can reject their pay if they choose because the Federal Fair Labor Standards Act does not apply to you.
Okay. So there is a motion on the floor. Further discussion on the motion. Well, if you can't do it,
Right.
then yeah, what is that?
I'm saying under federal law, you can say, no, I don't want to get paid.
Well, that's not what the motion is. The motion is to reject the increase
Individual.
or to say that you don't want to accept the increase.
All right. And as I sit here, I can't give an answer to that without looking into it.
So what would you direct us to do with a motion that you don't have the answer to? What we can do with it?
Seconds, I'll have language that will address that.
Okay.
And I was just gonna say, so either it needs to be removed, it sounds like, or people can say, I don't want to get paid at all, right? That's something that can be said here tonight, because that's what he gave us advice on tonight. Remove that motion or remove pay period for those that don't want to get paid. That's what it sounds like the options are.
I appreciate the interpretation. I feel like we have the attorney for this reason to tell us what
clear directive.
Right, clearly what are we able to do or not do with a motion like this then.
So help us.
Yes, please. Oh, Councilmember McLean has something.
I would suggest a potential rephrasing that would allow us to account for the uncertainty currently, and I would say that the amendment could read as follows: absent any state or federal law to the contrary, any council member may reject a raise voted by the council.
Okay, well, you already, is that a okay, so that is the friendly replaced amendment or resolution or what? Councilmember Simmons.
Yes, and then just for clarity, so that just stays with the individual, right? It's not the seed or whatever. So another person would come in and it would start over at that, but an individual can make that decision.
I believe that's by individual. Yeah. What it sounds like. Okay.
And then what would happen if there's a mistake or something in the treasury because they're like, hey, we're just paying everyone the same thing. Like that seems like another administrative burden to then make sure. I mean, I'm just saying this is like, I mean, honestly, I don't know. We're not going to want to extend our meeting either, but here we are over pennies. I mean, people don't want it for whatever reason. So I just think about then there's an administrative burden that we're then gonna place, right? To have a process for people, because you have to have a process, because we're a bureaucracy. We already talked about this. So then you have to have a process for people to then say, I don't want, you have to sign on the dotted line and all of that.
Yes.
To do that. And then what happens if you do get that pay? Then how would you then, what is the process for getting that corrected? And then would this also go into, anyway, I just want to make sure, because then, so I think that what I would say is that if we're going to put that, then you have to also name that there needs to be a process. And I know you care about process. So to name that there needs to be a process developed in order for council to behave in this way.
So council, if this is something that they would want to move forward with it, they would have to sign a release of some sort. We can set up an exemption in the system that would revert back to standard payroll if there's a different person in the seat. If there's an error with payroll, much like any errors that may occur, you'd inform finance, and they would either deduct from your next check, or they could reverse payment and then correct it.
Thank you. Councilmember Fellows. I was avoiding talking about the ideological basis for these arguments, but I just have to say grind set mentality is a scourge on working class communities like Ypsilanti. It's really sad to be witnessing some symbolic falling on the sword in this discussion that we're having. And, capitalism has been very effective at propagating us to devalue ourselves all the time. And this is just another example of that. And I don't get it. But this is the ideological divide that we're at. And I'm sorry for the audience for having to listen to all this for so much of the night. It is our budget session, so this is typically our longer, more annoying session. So bear with us. But yeah, it is just sad to me. But I understand that my colleagues will not understand where I'm coming from, and I will not understand where you're coming from. I will vote no on this because I want everyone to be paid fairly what they are earned and owed.
Okay, we are on the amendment. Is there further discussion on this amendment? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Fellows. Councilmember Tucson.
Yes.
Councilmember Simmons.
No.
Councilmember McLean.
Yes.
Councilmember King.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilcoxen.
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes.
The amendment carries.
We are now on the amended, multiple time amended budget.
And if I could just inform council of where we are with the shortfall, it has been decreased by 1.113 million.
Thank you.
And what is the total shortfall?
Total shortfall was 1.9. Yeah.
1.9, so say 800,000.
This budget.
But okay. Further discussion. McLean. Or Mayor Pro Tem, you first.
Go for it. No, it's good.
Okay, somebody go. Please.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah.
Just a positive note and a reminder of where we've been and where we are now. We were presented by the city manager and by the finance director some weeks ago with a budget that was nearly $2 million higher in terms of expenditures than it was in terms of revenues. And what we have done is gone a long way toward bridging that gap. We assigned to ourselves the task of reaching the reduction level of $1.1 million. As the city manager has just told us, we have done that and then some. So it's the kind of thing that a responsible city government needs to do in the current circumstance. I'll mention that, we hope that in the spirit of that cost savings effort, that all departments will do their best. I know that all the departments are living with very tight resources already. And I know that they all know that I and probably we are sensitive to especially things like overtime. And I know that some of that is out of people's control. But I appreciate what has been done by the city manager, by Reagan, the finance director, by the other department heads, the chiefs. And so I think this is, in spite of some level of acrimony here tonight over a couple of issues, in the big picture, we have done our job. And I'm pleased that we are where we are.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem?
I was just going to say that this is the budget. I mean, we come across budget amendments all the time throughout the course of this. This is our first pass at this so that we can operate. We have budget amendments all the time. So if there's more savings that can be made, that too can be an amendment. That is not usually what has happened in the past. Mostly it's shifting around from fund to fund, but this is not the only time that we need to be scrutinizing the budget and our efficiencies in terms of our systems. And so that's all I want to say. I'm glad that we've gotten to the point that we've gotten $1.13 million off of that deficit. But, I think that to that point, I think it goes to everybody in this room has worked for this and continue to work for this. Folks have been here for years working on these things and trying to overcome some of the shortcomings of the past. We look at our interest income, and that could have been better if we had different planning in the past, financial planning in the past. So, everybody's finding it hard right now. There are layoffs. There are people that are really struggling with the way the economy is going, and I think with the scrutiny, and as I've said before, this is the most engaged conversation about the budget that I've seen in the councils that I've been on. So I really do want to hold up the work that people on this council have done to help save the city money and provide services in a reasonable way that address all the needs of the people of the city. So I applaud everybody here and staff for doing the work to bring this up.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Further discussion on the budget? Councilmember Phillips.
Highlight some strengths and challenges. I want folks to know that this budget, on top of a lot of major projects that are going to be happening town, road reconstructions, bridge reconstructions that will be funded through this budget, and grant support. We also will have nearly $1 million go to the funding of a community responder program, unarmed crisis response, which we desperately need in this community. We will also have $100,000 each year go to Housing Trust Fund, which will support winter sheltering, daytime and nighttime winter sheltering. We have $300,000 going to fund public restrooms in our parks in Park Ridge and Riverside and Prospect Parks. We have done savings that were not expected before. And so we were expecting maybe like under $1 million shaving off of the shortfall. And we've done better than that because of community help. And so those are the strengths I think I see in this budget. One of the things I see as a challenge is that our actual spending on YPD budget over the last many years has been about $1.5, $1.6 million. And because we are nearly staffed fully staffed at YPD, that's going to jump up more than $1 million in our budgets. And so I am concerned that, next year we are going to see deeper shortfalls because if we maintain the staffing level, we won't get those monies going back to our general fund, which happens at the end of a budget cycle. So I'm just putting a note on it that we need to watch, how our budget that we've made for the next 2 years is going to act, because we are budgeting at 2.6 and 2.7 and 2.8 million for police budget. And if it remains fully staffed, that means we will actually have to pay that full amount, and it will create deeper budget shortfalls. So I am naming that as a potential challenge.
Thank you. Further comments on the budget? Okay. Anything else? No. I will say we're always coming from behind. I have never been a part of this body where we have had what we needed to cover the cost of anything that we were doing. And so I will echo Mayor Pro Tem's statement around the collaborative work that it took to get to this 1.13 out of the foreseeable shortfall, and that we have to continue doing that work, and also looking for other mechanisms to help support the things that we do need in community. I know that we talked a lot, and a grants manager has been my dream for 8 years, because we're always seeking external funds to support and offset costs of needed programs, needed infrastructure updates. And I think that I'm really grateful to staff for all that you all do to try to find those mechanisms to help offset costs for us as well. But I do think that we got to a good point here, and I hope that we continue to do that and work collaboratively together going forward. And again, seeking means to help support, number one, revenue, but also balancing some of these different fees and all the other issues that create cost issue within the city. So I'm grateful that we're here, and I am gonna call the roll if there's no further comment.
Mayor Brown.
Yes.
Councilmember Fellows.
Yes.
Councilmember Tucson.
Yes.
Councilmember Simmons.
Yes.
Councilmember McLean.
Yes.
Councilmember King.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilcoxon.
Yes.
The amended motion carries.
Okay. That's it, right? We're done. Okay, great. Mayor Pro
Move to
Tem.
extend to 10:30.
Or
There's a motion to extend.
support.
All in favor of extending to 10:30, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the next thing on the agenda was the discussion about the downtown library plaza that was moved up after the budget. Okay, Councilmember Simmons, you're ready to go, so all right.
I stay ready.
Mhm.
Try to get us. Okay. So, let me just pull up my notes. I just, when we were putting this on the agenda, I wanted to actually call it the violent arrest of a Black woman. That's actually what I wanted to call it. And it was really disturbing. I actually found out about it very quickly because one of the people who witnessed it came and found me. That's one of the nice things about being in community is people know where to find you. And so I found out about it right away. And what I think about is, I talk about my kid a lot. And I think about how traumatizing it would have been because the library, that's a space where she would be. And I think about people talk about the kids and what the kids see and what they witness. And what I know is that I can have a conversation with my kid about the world. I can have a conversation with my kid about inequality, about what's unfair. My kid asks me questions like, why do people have to live outside? That's a hard conversation to have with a 9-year-old, y'all. I mean, she's been asking since before she was 9, to be honest. This was, early on. I can have a conversation with my kid about the things that people do to cope. I can have a conversation with my kid about mental health. And she might have questions, but she's not traumatized. But I think about if my kid had seen what had happened, the police who are supposedly here to serve and protect us, brutalizing a Black woman, someone who, to be honest, she may have actually met and even shared a meal with at one of the community brunches, one of the monthly brunches that happen in our community, because we go to those so that she knows and that people know her. I want her to know everyone, and I want people to know her. And so we go to the monthly community brunches sometimes. And so I think about what that could have been like for her. Watching the video, the last time the police chief was here, we were talking about training. We were talking about de-escalation. And I was asking a question. I was asking many questions about, well, what is that training? What does that look like? Who is doing that? And I think about in the video, what we see is that there's so many people in the community who have skill sets, people who knew the person, who are in relationship and community with the person, who are present, and who were trying so hard. And if it weren't the police that were brutalizing her, they might have stepped in. They might have been able to stop the harm from happening, but because it was done behind a badge, they cannot, because that puts them in danger. It puts them in danger to try to stop someone else from being brutalized and harmed. I think about there was no other way to detain. There was no way. Who de-escalates the police? Who de-escalates? Even if she ran, where was she going to go? We see her pack. She was obviously unhoused. What skills from the training were on display? The bending of the arm behind the cast, the kneeling of two adult men on a slight build of a woman, the pushing of face into the ground. I have to sit here and hear that there was no violence, that there was nothing done wrong. The ignoring of her pleas. I know what I saw, and I know what it looks like to hear everyone pleading, saying, we can help, let us help, can we get her somewhere? And that there was no stopping. It just continued. And so this is a problem, and it's so hard because I've been trying to get information about things like use of force and policy and when policy's broken or not. And it's, nothing happens. I'm constantly told that local control of the police is of utmost importance. When the community members came to me and said, well, what's happening? You all have oversight of the police. I laughed. I laughed because I literally can't even get responses. I can't get simple responses. And so local control sounds like nothing. It sounds like no accountability. We had a person say, oh, I was traumatized and I haven't even been able to get recourse. So this is an issue. I don't want to hear that there's, we can say, oh, we like this person. We can say, oh, we want but to say that we don't see harm happen in front of our faces, talk about a slap in the face, talk about spit dripping on my head. So I feel not only for the person who was brutalized, I feel for everyone who was there, who might have been traumatized by watching. I feel for all of us who saw the video. I feel for all of us who have to experience and to think that this is how we deal with things now. This is how we deal with things. I hope that we actually come out of this somehow better, but I don't know what that looks like because I don't know what accountability looks like for us here in this Ypsilanti within our police department. What does it look like? We have someone who said, hey, YPAC should have a group looking at use of force. The last police chief, this was his specialty. This is what we heard about for years from Police Chief Moore, was around use of force. That was his specialty. So then to hear that it hasn't changed, I'm surprised because I thought that was literally the focus. And so, but what I know is that if the same use of force is used for a person with a weapon, the same use of force is used for a person who is loitering, the same use of force is used for someone, then we have a problem. We have a problem because it is a use of force. It's like this term, it just. So anyway, I just had to say that that this is a problem, and it's much worse to see what happened than probably almost anything else.
Thank you. Further discussion? Councilmember King?
I guess I would ask, what, if anything, can we say as the city? The community has said they feel like they didn't hear adequate response. And I know someone came up to the mic and said the response didn't say anything about the chief. Can we clarify that the chief did give that statement?
So the statement came from myself with assistance from the chief and our communications department to draft that. So yes.
And then is there anything, again, it's under investigation. I'm wondering, is there anything we can say? I think that's what I heard from the community, that they want to hear a little more. They want to hear, like, if it is a use of force situation, what are we going to do to fix that?
So yeah, I understand that people want information quickly, but we have to go abide by the contract. There's an internal investigation going on. That is, once we have that, we'll know if it's substantiated or unsubstantiated. But that's where we are right now.
That's all for now.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, I was just going to ask that question in terms of where is the investigation for this and what is the status of the officers involved? That is the question. And if that is not available at this point until the investigation is over, the question has been raised of whether are they on leave because of that? Is that it looked pretty weird, is that the regular procedure for apprehending a person that's not compliant? That seems problematic. So the amount of information that we could have, we should have as much of that as possible, as quickly as possible.
Councilmember Tucson?
Yeah, excuse me. And in the spirit of like getting transparency and like being forthcoming with the information that we do have and we can share, is the city manager, what information can we share about that information outside of what many of us have watched from that video?
Other than it's an ongoing investigation, we can't really speak too much about it.
So my question is, because I asked some of those questions as soon as I saw the video, and I know that we can't speak to an open investigation, but I'm wondering, in terms of kind of going back to what Councilmember King was, I think, alluding to, are there items that we can be working on now that are not connected to that specific incident, but about changing process, changing procedure, in terms of, when within the department, when officers engage with someone who, again, I don't know every detail of what was what preceded the video, but are folks looking at policy? Are folks looking at procedure? Are there things that we have the ability to participate in, to create change in that way?
So policy and procedure can be recommended by the Police Advisory Commission. So if they wanted to take this up, they could, and that recommendation would go to the police chief and myself. But in terms of enforcement, the charter is clear that council's not to get involved in enforcement.
And I guess I'm asking that publicly, number one, to name that, but then also, I guess, ask, in what way do we have ability to give feedback, for instance, because we represent the people of the community? Is there a way for us to participate other than maybe, I could go to YPAC and give public comment.
Council can always send me an email if they want to provide feedback. That's fine. And then the chief and I can review.
Councilmember Simmons.
I guess I have two questions. One is, I thought that we have jurisdiction over policy, city policy.
Not administrative policy.
Okay, so is it administrative or legal policy, how people are treated by our city staff?
So that would be, again, it's under investigation to see if there was anything that was violated. And it's under investigation per contract.
Well, but that's just based on, is that administrative policy? It's like whether they violated an administrative policy, but whether there's a legal question or something that we would put forward, that would be a different consideration.
Sure, if you wanted to request a legal opinion from the city attorney, you may do.
No. Because you know what I know, because I'm not asking for a legal opinion. I'm talking about our role as legislative policymakers. I'm saying that if we wanted to make something a law, an ordinance or some such thing, that is within our purview to do, that then our police department would need to follow. That is a policy decision. That's not about administration and the decisions of what administration does. I'm talking about the ways that what is considered a legal way of acting and uh, engaged in with our community members. I just want to be clear. I just want to name what I'm saying, because what I know that the question, I have many emails that have gotten lost between our city manager and our attorney that I haven't gotten responded to, and I've brought this forward before around these issues. And so being told to do it again, like we already talked about how much work it is to get pennies. So I'm very much not looking to redo things 5 and 6 and 10, 12 times. So I just want to be clear that if we want to look at maybe I should just name that that's something that then I'm going to start investigating, because I have no trust, and I don't think our community has trust. And I think that this is a problem when we talk about escalation, when we talk about what things are happening, given the world context that we're operating within, that I think that we need different kind of action. So we can go through this process to determine if the use of force is appropriate based on an administrative piece, and that council can't get involved with enforcement. So there you have it, community. That's the local control, accountability. So I just want to name this clearly. That's where we are. But that there's another level that we should maybe, or we could, and that I will then now have to look into.
Mayor Pro Tem?
To the difference between the administrative policy and the legislative policy, the city council has directed the city police force to deprioritize certain things, and that comes into question with the video, right? And there are things that happened before the video started, and the question is whether there was simply the possession of paraphernalia or if there was open drug use in a public space. And so in the video, Corn is saying you can't arrest somebody for paraphernalia. That may not be entirely true, but we have deprioritized that, and so there is that gray area that you can set those policies.
Mm-hmm. And whether they were followed, who gets to determine that, though?
That's a very good question.
That was it?
Yeah, there was another thought, but I just lost it.
Sorry. I just.
Oh, no, the other thought was the question of having the chief of police respond, right? And in person rather than going through the city manager. Part of my impetus for suggesting a communications manager in the first place was the problem of communication with the chief of police and taking that person out of public engagement in those kinds of conversations, because they were problematic, and they had been problematic for some time. And so making those statements be more measured and not as reactive was part of the point, and most of my point, in terms of getting a communications person for the city. And so while that is true, there still needs to be accountability.
Well, I think other people had their hand raised first, but I can go. I just want to say, I think the bottom line is the community does want to know more information. They want to know exactly what was already stated today. Is that the procedure when someone is already hurt and in a cast? We see around other communities where it's a situation and someone comes forward and makes a statement. That is what the community want. They want to know more information. They want to know, are the officers on leave? I think some of these are bare minimum questions that can be answered without violating the investigation. again, people want to know, are the officers still on duty? I think that was one of the main questions. And again, I think we are, sometimes even us as council members, I'm not saying they made a mistake, but we make mistakes. So how do we improve it? By calling it out and moving forward and getting the proper training, education, or whatever, so we can do the right thing in the future. Again, I have not seen the entirety of the video. I heard it may be an option that we may be able to see the body cam. I would love to, so I can give a fair assessment of the entire situation, because I know we only seen a part of a video.
We know each other. So, as soon as I saw this video, I knew exactly who it was, and it was really disturbing. It's quite simple what happened. A black queer woman was brutalized by the police, which is problematic and unacceptable. And this is, again, another occurrence this year of police brutalization. We had the siege in January, and we still haven't had a follow-up report about that. And so I do find it unacceptable that it's just like under investigation means that no information comes forward for almost a year now. And we do need more than one sentence, replies about YPD did what they were supposed to do or whatever. That's not acceptable. That's not actually what happened. In this situation, again, I would expect more information to come forward about a publicly funded enforcement entity in the city. And if we keep coming into the situation where we're not getting information, then city council has to be move with the urgency that the situation requires. We need to do something outside of the kind of normal status quo that we're doing. So it's just, I do think, staff does a lot of things that are helpful for communicating to the community, for running business of the city, but has been very weak on this issue. Very, very, very weak. And I do think it's unacceptable. Other enforcement agencies have taken matters like administrative leave for officers that are involved in certain situations. That should be communicated to us. That should be happening probably in these instances. I'm really worried about these instances increasing, the occurrences of violence on marginalized community members increasing this year because of the lack of service support again, because of we're just going to treat the problem with more local law enforcement. And they are not trained in the same ways as people that are in established relationships with people that are experiencing the various issues in the community. So I am a little bit worried about this summer in particular. And I think that rather than just standing by and just being like, okay, I guess we're just going to see a bunch of skulls cracked and then we're going to get no answers from the community, I'm just going to say now, like, if we don't see action from staff on these issues, we need to act as a council. That's it.
Thank you. Further discussion from council?
And I do think this underscores the urgency we have for a community responder program. Unarmed crisis response is funded now. We just passed the budget. It's funded. We need to work with people in the community to develop this program, how we want to see it, how it will best impact to respond to these particular instances that we're talking about. And, so I am pushing for urgency around the data around the 911 calls and triage system, which I know that is being evaluated by LEAP. That should come before us as soon as possible so we can start on the next step, which is designing, developing this program, and then eventually launching it. We cannot wait years down the line to do this. We need to do this now.
thank you. Anything further before we close the discussion? All right. Moving on. Councilmember Simmons, you have resolution 134.
Resolved that the Council of the City of Ypsilanti, that the following resident, although I think that this is actually a non-resident application.
Yep.
Yep, it's not resident.
My apologies. Sorry.
So I'll just put it in here. That the following non-resident be appointed to the City of Ypsilanti Board and Commission as indicated below for Laura Bowler for the Sustainability Commission with an expiration, term expiration of 5/1/2029, and I so move.
Support.
Moved by Councilmember Simmons, supported by Mayor Pro Tem Wilcoxon. Discussion. Councilmember McLean?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a clarifying question. I see a strange date for the term again. June 1st, 2029, which suggests that it's a 2-year term that is beginning rather randomly. In other words, whenever the person starts or gets appointed.
It's May.
Does that, usually they're going to be July 1 or ending
Sustainability has
30th?
May 1st as the start.
Everybody?
Yep.
May 1st? So why wouldn't this end on April 30th, 2 years hence?
Till the that date. So if it was May 1st, I think I might have, there again might be a typo. There was a typo about a resident, and I think it is May 1st as opposed to, I wrote June 1st here.
No, it says May 1st.
It does.
It says May 1st on the resolution
June
and
1st.
June 1st on the RFL. And on RFL and on the agenda, it says June 1st, but on the resolution, it says May 1st.
There you go. That's where I.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, there were different dates on.
I see.
So, like here, I don't know if it's.
Well, what I read was correct.
Yeah, what you read into the record is correct.
Yes.
As long as that's the record.
Yep, it's correct. Any further discussion on this?
I just want to say that I did send this along to the Sustainability Commission to look at the application to see how, if they thought that she would be a good fit. And they were like, yes, please send us people. So.
Okay, please call the roll.
Councilmember Simmons.
Yes.
Councilmember McLean.
Yes.
Councilmember King.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilcox.
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes.
Councilmember Fellows.
Yes.
Councilmember Tucson. Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, and then the last is accepting the FOIA appeal of Kairos Endicar.
So to give some limited background on this, it's actually 26-131 was the request that is the subject to this appeal. It was largely redundant of this same requester's earlier request, number 26-97. Essentially, what he was looking for were the complete personnel files of the clerk and the city manager. Those were provided with privacy exemptions applied to critical information such as date of birth, home address, which the courts have made clear home addresses are also sensitive for public officials, social security numbers, dates of birth, information about spouses, especially when you're signing up for medical benefits and other things of that nature. So we provided that information, and the appeal essentially surmises that additional information exists, that the information in the 2025 evaluations of the clerk and the city manager, because they were not signed, there must be signature copies that exist. We have what we have. And then there were color-coded comments of council members within the subject matter of the review. So one person's comments would be in blue, one person's comments might be in green. We don't know who that is because the evaluator did not identify who they were within that document. And so essentially the appeal is asking us to augment an existing public record to provide information that's not within the current public record. So you can't do that. That's creating an additional document or altering a public record to become more responsive to a FOIA request. So we gave a certificate of essentially that no other records exist that are responsive to the request. And so, and this is the typical, there must be more. So I'm appealing to get more. I don't know that that's precisely the way I could characterize it, but it's the best way at this point that I can characterize it. Unless council wants to look at this deeper, it can approve the appeal now, or it can deny the appeal now, or wait until the 6/19 meeting, which is 2 weeks from today, 6/16 meeting, to make a final decision on it. But at least with additional comments to the clerk's office, I don't see any other documents that we could produce. We're certainly going to create additional records, and the redactions were identified for personal information of the individuals, fitting clearly within the privacy exemption of the statute. The appeal.
Simply vote. We've got a motion to accept. We would simply vote no. Is that what you're recommending?
You could just make yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, there's no motion to accept. By me presenting it to you at the table, you're accepting it. So it's putting forth a motion to deal with it. Either approve or deny.
Councilmember King?
So just to be clear, we turned in everything that we were supposed to. It was one part that you said, because I thought it asked about evaluations, and all of our evaluations, those were turned over, just for clarity.
Yeah, so what's nice about this is this net request system that we implemented last year, which is, still a little bit, it's imperfect, but it's better than what we had. Anybody can go on to this portal and take a look at what we produced. So I actually have it up on the screen as we're speaking. Yeah. So the nice thing here is you can click on it. We have city manager evaluation, and I'm showing this to Councilmember King here. City manager evaluation 2020. Right here. So this was for 2025. There has not yet been another one within the last fiscal year. So one of the allegations was, well, they've been employed longer than a year. So, well, unfortunately, not everybody gets an annual review, even if they might anticipate an annual review. Things happen, but we produced what was in the personnel jacket. So you can see, and I'm just showing Councilmember King here, we have a member who made comments in blue, or at least they're shown in blue on this one, who made it in green, another one made it in red, but it's not indicating who made those statements. So we're not going to add to that document to say who made those statements. It will be a separate request to say, produce all records indicating perhaps who made those comments or the submission of those comments. I suppose that could be a public record as long as it's, we could produce a response to that that's, with all non-exempt information. But this appeal says there's got to be more here.
And I guess I'm just assuming they're in different colors to identify it was different people. And so everybody submitted. I mean, is that the more information that they're wondering?
I think one of the issues may be that everyone did not submit one. So there's not information for every person because everybody did not complete one. So what I will say about this is that we waited for a little bit to submit within the time frame that was requested by Jennifer. Is it Jennifer? And on the last day, I submitted what we had because that's what we had. So
the certification and no additional records.
Yeah.
And unclose the request.
So again, what they're saying, there should be more. They're probably saying that because they notice that's not
enough for every
everybody.
person.
Exactly.
Maybe we can't.
Potentially, right.
'Cause there's not enough information that would count for 7 people.
Yeah.
We can only produce and as necessary exempt what is there. Can't add to it, can't detract from it. We can't create something new. Law's pretty clear on that.
Yeah, I don't know.
So who is the motion?
I don't, anybody, because it wasn't,
It wasn't? I thought
the resolution wasn't in the packet.
So the possible motion would be grant the appeal, or deny the appeal, or grant in part, deny in part with specificity as to what you're granting or denying.
Or, sorry, go ahead.
And then I guess, and then it's like it's the second part to our evaluation, right? And how does that part get finished, right? Do we have a discussion? I know that's separate from this.
That's separate, but yes, there's another part. Yes.
Oh. Oh, okay.
We don't have a motion, so.
It's right here.
It's in the packet, but it wasn't in the, I didn't hand out.
Don't have
anything. There was
a
nothing
hard copy.
in your copy. Yeah.
So there's only two options. Well, you said there's three. You could, as it's written here, pick one.
Yeah. I mean, there
is all the requested images shall be furnished to the appellant. You're saying there is none. So that doesn't make any sense. And so then denying it because they've gotten everything that they could have. By the Council of the City of Ypsilanti that after hearing the presentation and considerations of the FOIA request and the denial noticed in considering the FOIA Act and the facts and circumstances of this matter, it is hereby resolved that the FOIA appeal of Karos Vandekar is denied. Nice move.
Support.
By Mayor Pro Tem Wilcoxen, supported by Councilmember Tucson. Discussion.
Again, I guess my question still would remain. When are we gonna finish the second part? I know that's separate, but I'm just saying. Okay.
Okay. Please call the roll.
Councilmember McLean.
No.
Yes.
Councilmember King.
Yes.
We are voting to deny.
Yes.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Wilcoxen.
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes.
Councilmember Fellows.
Yes.
Councilmember Tucson.
Yes.
Councilmember Simmons.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. To answer your question, Councilmember King, in this process, I did try to get them. I did not get them. So that's why we didn't move to the next part because we didn't have all of them. But we can move to the next phase whenever at this point.
So we would still move to the next phase with what we have.
Because we had the requests, I had asked for them. I didn't get them, so we can move forward.
Well, how many people turned them in?
5.
Okay. So how does that work even when conversation happens if 2 people did not turn them in? Are they a part of the conversation?
Still dialogue about it. I mean, it wasn't a part of the overall assessment.
Was that important and who are the 2 people?
Councilmember Fellows.
Motion to extend to 10:45.
10:30.
Meeting's over.
Gotta work.
Oh, yeah. Book jobs tomorrow.
Thanks, everyone.